It is 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, and center. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, but most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get that coffee brewing, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, we have an absolutely jam-packed news-making day. Bill, sometimes you get to comment on the news, sometimes you get to make the news, and today we are making news.
This is kind of cool today. Got a nice lineup. It looks
fantastic.
Looks
Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora City Council at-large member, joins us in the 7 o'clock hour. If you remember, she was the one that really stood toe-to-toe, along with John Fabricatore, against this kind of idea coming from the mainstream media that we weren't having Venezuelan gang problems in the city of Aurora. She was exposing all that. She's going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. And then live in studio, 8 o'clock, Lauren Boebert, John Fabricatore, going to continue to press this idea that we have Venezuelan gangs problems in this state. We need to take it seriously. And the idea of being a sanctuary state has consequences.
Yeah, it does.
And then in the 9 o'clock hour, still the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, at least to some, Dave Williams joins us.
Yeah, that
so
was
he had a vote over the weekend, and that vote kept him there. So
yeah, at least that voted that group of people.
Yes.
Yeah. This is just weird.
So
weird.
We've got, I think, 2 chairmen of the Colorado Republican Party right now.
I think so. Based on how the votes went and stuff. Yeah, you can make an argument that we have 2 chairmen.
No.
That's fun.
So a lot to cover. And then, Bill, I've got some big news that includes you right after the news with Blake Olson.
I wasn't there.
I know, but you were the talk of the town. Believe me.
Oh, no. I can't wait for this one.
So let's check in first with Blake Olson with news and commentary. Good morning.
Hey,
Blake.
Good morning. I can't wait to hear that one.
Including I spoke with the person that is responsible, she claims, for Bill Thorpe.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Let's talk to Mom.
Looking forward. Now, that's what's called a tease. Love it. 60 and clear, expecting a high of 91 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story on this Monday morning. The second Colorado Republican Party leadership vote was held over the holiday weekend in Castle Rock, where supporters of Chairman Dave Williams approved keeping him in his role. Just last week, members of the Republican Central Committee gathered in Brighton and voted to remove him and replace him with Eli Bremer. Both men are now claiming to be the GOP chairman. It appears claims of the Hells Angels motorcycle club coming to Colorado to stand up against the Venezuelan gangs in Aurora are not true. Many saw this on social media over the holiday, but Aurora police say they don't believe the posts are credible. And Danielle Jurinsky is coming up with Jeff and Bill in just a minute, and I'm sure they'll talk a little bit about that. President Biden is back on the campaign trail, this time for Vice President Harris, and evidently he's not taking those supersonic drugs anymore. He is slipping quickly, and he's still the president.
We are the greatest manufacturing city, county in the world, state in the world, city in the world. We're going to remain that way. Eric Dean of the Iron Workers, Tim Driscoll, the bricklayers, April Bell of the SEIU, Lee Saunders of ASME, a great friend, Roy Lee, and Jimmy Williams of the Painters Allied Trades, and his dad. His dad's a really good man.
His dad's a really good man. He can still yell, though. That's good. He sounds ridiculous. And so does Kamala Harris. Harris, what a phony, breaking out her little fake dialect over the weekend.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Because what we know
is you're a fake.
Now, you may not have missed this, but she added Blake to her campaign team. That's why. Yeah. She added Foghorn Leghorn to her campaign team, and now he's influencing the
Oh man, she grew up in Canada and in Northern California, and then all of a sudden she's a Southern Baptist preacher. It's phony, just like Hillary. Lied at least 30 times in the Dana Bash interview. Here she is putting the syrup on the grits.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
Let's just get through the next 64 days. It was totally different, though, in Pittsburgh from Detroit, which is very interesting. And the cackle is back. Here we go. Come on now. Here's where the campaign begins. All right, protesters in Israel have gathered outside the home of Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, demanding a ceasefire to free hostages held captive by Hamas. Protesters also demonstrated outside the U.S. Embassy in Israel. Thousands of mourners attended the funeral on Monday for slain Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Poland, one of the 6 hostages held captive by Hamas, whose bodies were found Saturday. Habib Rediger on with you this morning.
Pro-Palestinian people don't seem to have enough of a grasp of what's happening to understand the scale of how much Hamas are monsters for the Palestinians. In other words, Hamas's strategy is to force the destruction of Gaza. It built 500 miles of tunnels for that very purpose. In 11 months of war, not a single Palestinian civilian has been allowed to step a single foot in any tunnel just to protect themselves. The point for Hamas is mass civilian deaths in Gaza, and it first built 500 miles of tunnels to force a war that cuts through cities, and then carried out October 7 to leave the Israelis no choice.
One of the busiest and oldest mountain search and rescue organizations in the country had a record number of calls over Labor Day weekend. Volunteers in Boulder rescued 7 people over the weekend, 2 of them by helicopter. A Philadelphia Eagles fan covers up the Kamala Harris Eagles counterfeit political ads that were erected throughout the city. You're going to hear this man, Joe. He said he was going to let people he didn't want people to see them spread the lie about the Eagles endorsing Harris. So he was going around taping up signs explaining that these were fake, and the Eagles said that they don't promote Kamala Harris.
I love the Eagles, loyal to them to the end. I am a Republican, just to say that to you, but my concern here is that is not that someone is expressing an opinion, which everyone's entitled to do, but this person is lying to everyone that comes and uses this stop. Okay, that's what I'm very concerned about. The fact that they're spreading lies that the Philadelphia Eagles endorsed Kamala Harris as a candidate for president in the United States. We all know Philadelphia is the battleground for Pennsylvania. And these type of lies are the things that prevent honesty in the election process.
And that's what they do best. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com. 55 in Boulder, 57 in Lakewood, 60 in Denver, and the week is now underway. The new week, the short week. It's Tuesday. Jeff and Bill continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Warm and sunny on this Tuesday. Denver will see highs approaching 90, lows tonight near 60 degrees. For Wednesday, a little bit cooler, mid-80s. Wednesday will bring a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures at night, 50s, and showers and thunderstorms could linger Wednesday night into Thursday. Thursday cooler, 70s, back to the 80s and dry Friday and Saturday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill show. So, Billy, it was a busy weekend for us watching movies, which normally isn't the case. We're not a big head to the movie theaters type of family because I got 6 and it's a little expensive.
Yeah, it is. Oh, boys.
We went to go, but when your friends make movies, you support them by buying a ticket. Yeah. And 2 great friends made movies coming up here. First of all, Friday night, Mark Joseph, producer of the Reagan film, went and saw that. Absolutely fantastic.
Oh, good.
Inspirational. Because my kids really don't know a lot about Ronald Reagan. It's about as much as I know about Calvin Coolidge. It's like before my time. So how do you know that much about it? And I was born in 81, and it was a great film to introduce our kids to the legacy of Ronald Reagan, which was just fantastic.
Nice. That's wonderful.
And I'll get to Joan here in a second about the Reagan movie. But then last night, Billy, I got to host a preview for some folks here in town of Am I Racist by Matt Walsh and Justin Folk. And I'm proud to announce that as of right now, I'm holding it up for the camera here. You can see it online. I am DEI certified.
Hey, congratulations.
Yes. And now I need to put my training into action.
Yes. How'd you get certified? What was the process?
So
I bet it was
I watched the movie. Yes.
It was a long process. It was lots of education.
About as good as when your employer makes you go through a DEI.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Click. Yeah. But this one was a lot more entertaining. Matt Walsh is the chief DEI officer. So in this film, Matt goes and becomes a DEI expert. So he goes on this journey of, he starts to listen to the news. And the news is like, we're a racist country. We're racist to our bones. Race is in everything that we do. And he asks the question, well, am I racist? Yeah. So then he goes to this kind of progressive little get together. Yeah. And they get very mad at him for even being there. He tries to just to hide himself by changing his name. Yeah. And they figure it out. And these progressives get very angry that he's in the room. So then he's like, gosh, I can't even go into a kind of progressive, take down the white supremacy in your life type of meeting. And so he goes undercover. He dresses as a progressive. And he then goes through this big journey. He buys all these books. And he goes to this Boulder bookstore and gets White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. And then goes on this long journey to become a DEI expert, only to learn essentially he can't solve it. It is one of those conundrums where you're supposed to think about race, but not supposed to think about race, but address race, but not too much address it. Yeah. And the whole system is kind of spun up to prey on your guilt, essentially. So, and then finally talks to both black people and white people that are just like honest Americans
Yeah.
And it's like we've got to love each other. That's how we get past this, man. We recognize we bleed the same blood, right? It's red. No matter what's happening in our lives. So it's a very powerful film. Here's the trailer for it.
Let's be clear what's happening in this country. It's Nazism. Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up in the 90s, I never thought much about race. Sure, you noticed, but never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me.
Being a white, straight, cisgender man is the top of the pile.
I'm on the top of the pile. That's me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey.
Can you please leave?
If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover. If I want to be an ally, I need to look like one.
What is racism?
Martin Luther King said not to judge people by the...
Martin Luther King said a lot of stuff.
Is America inherently racist?
What the hell is that?
The word inherent is challenging there. America is racist to its bones. All of the...
So inherently.
Yeah.
The entire system has to burn. And I'm not going to even use save this country. This country is not worth saving. This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
They gonna say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. Where are you guys in your anti-racist journeys? So I'll look around the room and point to who we believe is the most racist person in the room. We want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument. Would you mind signing it? You will? What do you think about this issue of heteronormativity and how it intersects with the broader structures of racism in society?
They gonna say I'm racist.
What's up with white people? What are you doing to decenter your whiteness?
Who's making it the center? Why are they doing that?
And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. White
Folks,
White.
trash, white supremacy, white woman, white boy,
White.
entitlement,
White.
centering, white silence.
Is there a black person around here? There's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
They gonna say I'm racist, but they call everybody racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi. And what's your name?
I'm Matt.
Matt. Hi,
Yeah.
Matt.
Nice to meet you.
Just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist, but they call
So that's
everybody
Matt
racist.
Walsh in the new movie Am I Racist? At the end there, he interviews Robin DiAngelo, the author of the New York Times best-selling book, White Fragility.
How's that go?
And he basically Borats the DEI industry. That's what the movie is.
That makes sense.
It's quite entertaining.
Yeah.
About a serious topic, but it brings everybody back at the end of the day to go, all the experts out there, he interviews all these experts and they tie into knots.
Yeah.
Whereas he just goes and interviews a black auto zone worker down in Louisiana that we heard from the director yesterday. They just saw sitting across the street, and he ends up becoming like the heart of the movie, which is great. They interview white bikers down in the South too. And both of those people on either side are just going, just love each other, man.
Yeah.
That's how we get past this. You love a person. So the experts tie in knots. The real people have the solution. It's a great film. But Bill, I've got to talk to you about, by the way, that movie comes out September 13th. AmIRacist.com is where you can get tickets.
And I'm sorry,
for
you
it.
were nice enough to invite me to it, but I had...
You were a little busy. But
I did.
Dude,
I did a lot of
I
radio
walked
over the
into
weekend.
a room and the amount of people that talk to me about Bill Thorpe. This is where. So
That's
there's a few things I need to talk to you about.
That is
okay.
ridiculous.
We're gonna have a meeting here. This is a show directional meeting.
Show meeting. Okay, I get it.
So first of all, I met the person responsible for you.
Yeah,
and she claims you. Lynn Cottrell
Lynn is
introduced
wonderful.
your parents.
Yes, she did.
And she's part of TAPS, and I don't know if you want to talk about that. That's coming up.
Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah,
she's
coming
very excited about
not next weekend, weekend after. Yeah. And she's extended a wonderful invitation to you and I as well to see if we want to go there. So so you tell me if you want to go, and we can go and hang. It's wonderful. It's a really, really wonderful night. So it's always one of the best nights of the year for me. So
and what do they support? TAPS supports
TAPS. It's the tragedy assistance prevention program. It's basically service members that die while on duty. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a training exercise. Doesn't matter if it's something like what happened in Afghanistan. Doesn't matter if a service member loses their life. TAPS comes in and helps the family put everything back together, which is really, really important for the kids. I mean, they've got summer camps. They have mentors. They have just an amazing program because, it doesn't matter when the service member's gone. Yeah, they're gone. It doesn't matter how. It's a matter of filling that hole. So how do you keep that family back together? And the stuff they do is unreal. I mean, we're talking about sleepaway camps. We're talking about stuff that happens locally. They've got wonderful individual activities. They hook you up with local mentors and lots of counseling and other stuff. It's just everything that the family needs post-tragedy. So it's fantastic. It's a wonderful program.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we could be supportive of them. All right. Now, Bill, you and I got to get a little bit more serious now. I've run into this at least twice.
Uh-oh.
And it borderlines on a complaint about you that we need to address.
Get in line.
Okay.
That's a long list of complaints. There's so many.
At least twice now in public settings, people have come up to me and said, Jeff, when I first started listening to the show, I really did not like Bill.
Yeah. I get that a lot.
And now I tune in every day and I really, really like him.
Really?
Yes.
You didn't tell me there were drinks at served.
So we need to go back. We need a little bit more of the angry. We need to get the audience more angry at Bill because they're all falling in love with you, man.
Oh, I appreciate that. That is really nice. That is nice to hear. I appreciate they just enjoy spending time with us. That's the part that honestly still blows my mind. That people will hang out in the mornings with us and do the silly thing that we do because it's not like anything else out there, and I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's really fun.
And they tune in now. They have gone from what happened to this show, and we've got this. He's not a rock-ribbed MAGA conservative on the air now, but gosh, she sure is lovable.
That is so nice. Thank you so much. Oh, I appreciate it. And I'm so sorry that I missed out on last night. I really wanted to, but I had so much radio to do. It was, people are off at Westwood One, and so I'd like to give them some extra time on the vacations. And it's easy for me to throw up the voice track kit and to go ahead and just do shows. So between Friday afternoon and Monday evening, I was on the air 30 hours doing radio.
So those people can go get their bill fixed.
Yeah, it was the Sunday morning was crazy because we had someone that their computer system crashed. So if you were listening to modern rock or classic rock, one of the Westwood One affiliates, or you were listening to, it's called Freedom Rock on Armed Forces Network, from 6 a.m. on a Sunday till 8 p.m. at night, that was me. 14 hours of me. 14 hours. This dude, 14 in a row.
I like endurance sports. You're next level, Bill.
Yeah, that's just like, but again, I was able to break into 3 different recordings, but it was one of those things that I had gotten one segment done and it was just a half an hour later. And my boss calls me and she goes, hey, Carrie's track is, the voice track system's crashed. And rather than getting her rebooting, can you just do the show? I'm like, yeah. I literally, the voice track system was right there. I hadn't even cleaned it up yet.
That is
and I'm like, yeah, I can be on in 10 minutes. She goes, give me 10. I'll switch it over. I'm like, all right, I'm on in 10 minutes. Went, had a little bit of coffee, went back on the air in 10 minutes. Yeah.
I love it.
It was so much fun.
So Justin Folk, the director of Am I Racist, is going to be live in studio opening day next Friday, September 13th. Cool. He's just an awesome dude. Great film. And it takes on these people trying to drive us apart in order to make money. It's a profit scheme to exploit the race issues we have in this country. And if you go talk to the average American, whether they're white or black, they get it.
Yeah.
And it's about love. And that's how you move past it.
I really appreciate him pulling back the curtain on the DEI idea, because now I believe there is a role for DEI inside of organizations and things like that, because diversity does help make them stronger. But the little DEI industry popped up really quickly. That was the thing that always got me, is all of a sudden DEI we started these initiatives inside of businesses, and all of a sudden people are like, I'm an expert. Wait a minute here. There isn't enough time for you have to enrolled in school and had a decent amount of education spending this. You couldn't have written a master's thesis. There's no way you could have gotten through this and been a DEI expert. And I'm using air quotes on purpose, because all of a sudden everybody popped up and we had all these DEI experts, and then people were getting paid.
Do you know how much University of Michigan paid their DEI expert?
Oh, don't tell me, because it'll make me sad.
$300,000.
That is ridiculous, because they just appeared. They just appeared as if they were experts. So I just knew that the whole system was a scam there.
People to go find problems that aren't necessarily there, right? Because you can get paid $300,000.
Yeah.
You better find problems to address.
Yes, because if you say school's good, you get fired. So you can't do that. So it was just, that was the thing for me, was the process that all these experts popped up. And I'm like, hang on a sec. If we would have started with a new computer software coding program, would have taken a couple of years to get people through that could have gotten up to speed in order to do it. All sorts of things like that take time. But all of a sudden, within 6 months, we had all these DEI experts. I'm like, something's fishy. Something's fishy here. It doesn't smell right.
So congratulations, Justin Folk, Matt Walsh, on a great film out September 13th. And again, we'll have them live in studio. We'll have Justin Folk, the director, in studio on September 13th. Let's go to the phone lines. Joan, Lakewood, you get to see the Reagan movie over the weekend?
Morning.
Yep, I saw it, and this is a very interesting conversation to me because my friends that are over 40 are really into the Reagan movie, and my friends under 40 are actually looking at renting a theater to see the Am I Racist?
Oh, nice.
That's wonderful.
Both great films and very important in sending a message to Hollywood. I worked in that kind of industry for a lot of years promoting films, and it is dominated by libs, dominated by the left. And when you have these conservative films that pop up, when you go to spend money and take your friends to the movie theater, you're sending a message to Hollywood that they need to make more conservative films. So what stood out to you on the Reagan film there, Joan?
Well, first of all, it was a tearjerker in a lot of ways. And I don't want to be a spoiler as to what happened in the first 10 minutes, but it shocked and surprised me. It's a film you need to see in this theater, mostly because of the scenery in the ranch and stuff like that. Reagan on his horse at the very end was just tear-jerking. And
his final ride. Yep, his final ride.
And then Dennis Quaid, my husband did not want to go see Dennis Quaid do this because he didn't think he could pull it off. But I honestly and sincerely believe that Dennis did a really great job. And Miss Miller, who played Nancy Reagan, did well as too. I think the best part of it was the perspective that it was told from. It was not told from an American perspective. It was told from a Soviet Union perspective, and that was kind of fascinating as well.
That's exactly right. It's from the perspective of a young Russian political leader talking to an older Soviet Union activist on why the Soviet Union fell and how they tracked this actor, this B-rated actor that nobody thought was going to rise to the level he did. And you have that storyline, and then the role that Nancy Reagan plays by Penelope Ann Miller. She was absolutely fantastic in the film. She's totally believable, and the importance that Nancy Reagan played in getting Ron to kind of pull up his bootstraps. His career was in the tank. He's down in Las Vegas promoting a Pabst Blue Ribbon beer kind of sideshow. He's depressed. He calls himself a clown. And then the role Nancy plays and kind of bringing Ron along, inspiring him, getting him back onto his feet. He becomes the governor of California. That leads him to become the president of the United States. It's not an easy path by any means. He loses the 1976 convention to Gerald Ford. But it is very inspirational. And I think, Joan, what is important is that especially you grandparents take your grandchildren to go see this movie. It's totally family friendly. There's nothing you have to worry about in the movie, but to inspire them, to help them understand who Ronald Reagan was. We took our kids, and as you can imagine, my wife, she works for Focus on the Family. We don't get any more conservative than our family. Our kids grow up talking about these people all the time, but to actually see and learn more about Ronald Reagan helps the younger generation understand just how important he is.
I also thought that some of the scenery and stuff of the Kremlin, that really surprises me. Stalin went in there, he killed 1 million people. He didn't like organized religion.
That's
and
right.
Yet he didn't tear down any of that. He didn't tear down any of the imperial cathedrals. He didn't. And they rule out of them today. And it's one of those things where you just sit there and you go, God is not dead. And I think one of the things that was really important in this film was how much Ronald Reagan's mother and his faith helped him.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. It gives him a sense of purpose, even during his most difficult times, guides him and is core to who Ronald Reagan was. So his mom comes out looking like a saint in the movie as a strong woman that inspired faith in her children. Joan, great call. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed the film.
Thank you.
2 great films coming out that you all should go get tickets to support. Look, with all the work I've had done to my teeth, believe me, finding a good dentist makes all the difference. I'd like to tell you about Dr. Mike at the Rocky Mountain Dental Group. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. See for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. Look, if your gums are receding, it's critical to address this issue promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves making a small hole in the tissue and gently repositioning the gums. Schedule a free consultation with my guy, Dr. Mike, to discover the benefits of this revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. All right, I want to get into this next. Do you believe that Kamala Harris can lead on the foreign stage, especially in light of the killing of the hostages, including an American hostage that took place over the weekend? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're off and running on this Tuesday morning, September 3rd, following the Labor Day weekend. Bad news breaking, horrible news breaking over the weekend about hostages held by Hamas. 6 Israeli hostages, including 1 American dual citizen hostage, executed over the weekend, shot either Friday or Saturday night, just 48 hours before they were rescued, brutally murdered. I guess now there's a video that Hamas is releasing with regards to this propaganda. Here's the mother of Hirsch Goldberg Paulin, who was executed. This is an American citizen.
Okay, sweet boy, go now on your journey. I hope it's as good as the trips you dreamed about, because finally, my sweet boy, finally, you're free. I will love you and I will miss you every single day for the rest of my life. But you're right here. I know you're right here. I just have to teach myself how to feel you in a different way. And Hirsch, there's one last thing I need you to do for us. Now I need you to help us stay strong. And I need you to help us survive.
There remain 7 American hostages held by Hamas. These are joint Israeli-Americans. So they have dual citizenship being held. I saw this headline. This is a reminder from National Review. Kamala Harris warned Israel of, quote, consequences, unquote, if it invaded Rafah, where Hamas just murdered an American hostage. If you remember, this was a few months ago when she claimed she has been reading maps. She'd been reading maps, and that it was a red line if Israel had crossed over into Rafah. We've been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake, she said. Let me tell you something. I've been studying the maps, she added, and that she would not rule out consequences if Israel moved forward. This is where the Israeli hostages were found. And what Hamas does is, rather than have them rescued and turned back over where important intelligence can be provided to the Israelis, they executed them. Shot them multiple times, right up close, and killed these hostages. Now, I've got a few things I want to cover on this. First off, Bill, during my interview, I spent 4 days with pro-Palestinian protesters at the DNC. What I'm about to say to you is not a lie. This is what they actually told me. They said that the Israeli hostages are actually treated quite well. So much so that they oftentimes write thank you letters back to their Hamas captors once they return to Israel.
Yeah.
These people that are taking, raping, and murdering Israeli hostages, the pro-Palestinian protesters are saying are treating them so well that they often there's a level of delusion in that side that is just lunacy.
They weren't talking about these, obviously. And I'm being tongue in cheek, but I'm being, and I'm pointing out the idiocy of what they were saying.
Yeah,
obviously not. That's not how Hamas operates. That's not what they want to do. And it is real difficult to understand why they would feel that rather than having the hostages rescued, we're just going to have them dead. Again, part of the intelligence, but also they don't want the families to have the joy either. So there is a double layer of evil and just despicableness that is wrapped into this. And there were tons of protests all over Egypt. Israel. Yeah.
Israel.
I was watching some stuff out of Egypt too. They're trying to put pressure on it earlier today. But yeah, tons and tons of protests in Israel. But the odd part was it was protesting Netanyahu in many ways because he didn't take the deal in order to bring the hostages back. And they were like, well, just take the deal in order to bring the hostages back. And so that's a whole nother layer in this entire argument. Because when I saw the protests, the first thing I saw, after the hostages were killed, I saw the stories about the protests. I'm like, oh, they're very mad. And I started reading about it. I'm like, wait, they're not mad at who I thought they were going to be mad at.
Right.
That was interesting. That was a surprise for me.
They want, there's a sizable amount of people. I mean, 500,000 they're saying in protests in Israel to Benjamin Netanyahu to get this done. I don't know if it's an effort to push to this particular deal. Maybe it is. But I also think that it's frustration that after, well, we got to be going on almost 300 days now.
Yeah.
Because this was October 7th.
Yeah.
And, we're well past 300 days. Because we're almost a month out.
Yeah.
So you have these hostages. They know some are dead. The bodies are still there. But they want to get them back. They're frustrated. They want this wrapped up. But here's where I'd like to hear from our callers and from you, Bill. Look, there's a lot of things a president can impact, right?
Yeah.
Sanctity of life issues, spending issues, domestic policy, energy issues, all that. President can affect a lot of that. Important to discuss. But the one thing that I think the president has the biggest impact over, his or her presidency, is foreign affairs. I think it's probably the biggest impact that they have. They're the commander in chief of our United States military. Now, they can't just spend endless amounts of money without going to Congress. But this is where I have my biggest concern about Kamala Harris.
Okay.
I don't think she is ready at the biggest stage, the biggest national stage, the international stage, to lead the United States to address some of our biggest, most pressing foreign issues. And I'll give you a few examples. One, I don't think she knows what to do at the border. She had opportunity to try to address the border issues, fly down, work with those countries to figure out how to keep the amount of people coming into our country. That's example number one. She was put in charge of that. Couldn't figure it out. But then two, I don't think she has a plan at all to deal with Israel and Hamas and to get these hostages back. And the fact that we still have 7 American hostages for nearly a year captured by Hamas. This is on her and Biden that we haven't been able to get them back. And I don't think as president of the United States, she can lead our country effectively.
I can see the critique. And unfortunately, we are in a choice of 2 people. And the other person, not necessarily that great of a leader either as far as foreign policy. We know that intelligence, our own intelligence, said that Trump's biggest weakness was his ego, that Kim Jong-il, and then also Putin all knew that by playing to Trump's ego, you could manipulate him to do whatever you wanted. I mean, we famously remember Trump standing on stage and being asked about the potential of Russian interference into the elections. And he said, yes, I know, despite my own intelligence services, despite all Western intelligence services, I looked him in the eye and he told me he didn't. Why wouldn't he lie to me? Really? That's the proof that was required? That's the tough guy that is supposed to be in the White House, that's supposed to be there making the hard decisions? The guy that, well, he looked me in the eye and said he didn't. Really? Like, Putin hasn't lied over and over and over again. That isn't something that he has cultivated as far as an ability. That's not as if that's something that his intelligence services told him before he took the meetings, that he is going to lie and manipulate you. And Trump went, yeah, we're buds. I mean, he wrote a thank you letter to Kim Jong-un. And the reporting is it's very flowery and fuchsious as far as great, wonderful things he said about him. Okay. And I'm not certain how Trump would get Hamas to do what he wanted to, especially because he's viewed as someone that is even more pro-Israel than the current administration. He did move our embassy into Jerusalem. Good or bad, but he's very, very pro-Israel. So to get Hamas to the table, I fail to see what Trump would be able to do at that point. I'm not saying that Kamala Harris is going to be fantastic. I'm just saying that we have 2 bad choices here. That's pretty much what we're stuck with.
Give us a call. Who's going to be better at foreign policy? I think it's crystal clear. I think Donald Trump is a lot tougher. I think he's going to get those hostages back. I think Kamala Harris has no idea what she's doing. 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-892-6757. 720-892-6757. I think the debacle we're in is in part due to Biden and Harris's failures. Prove me wrong. 303-696-1971. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're going to go to the phone lines here as they're filling in Who's better in foreign policy, Trump or Harris? I think it's crystal clear. Kamala Harris has no experience. And in fact, anytime she's been put on the national stage, she's failed with regards to the border. And she told Israel, if they invaded where these hostages were discovered, including an executed American, there would be consequences for Israel. She's totally not ready for the main stage. Let's go to Pete, Colorado Springs. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show. News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Pete.
Hey, morning.
Morning, guys. I think what we have here is we already have a track record of between the two candidates. Trump was a president that didn't want foreign entanglements. He had the courage to go and speak to Kim Jong-un of North Korea. He stopped their missile testing. He did talk to Putin. Putin did not invade Ukraine while Trump was in office. One of the last Americans to actually negotiate with Putin prior to the invasion was Kamala Harris. You didn't have an invasion of Hamas into Israel during the Trump administration, and no one respects Harris or Biden or the Democrats because they're weak on foreign policy and they send mixed signals. Trump is not a well-spoken man, let's be honest about that, but his track record on keeping us out of wars and keeping the world a hell of a lot safer is crystal clear when it comes down to this.
Tell me, Pete, how his the idea, because he wants to be more insular. He wants to pull everybody home. He doesn't want to get involved in foreign wars. How does that stop foreign wars from happening?
Well, again, he's got the track record. And here's what I would say is look what he did with NATO. He said, you know what? The Europeans are not paying their bills. They're not paying their fair share, and they need to step up. It's about time French, Germans start sending their young men and their young women to die instead of Americans being over there.
Let's talk NATO. Let's talk NATO for a sec, because one of the things that Putin wanted was a dissolution of NATO, and Trump was doing exactly what he wanted. Trump softened NATO. Okay. Trump hurt the allies. Pete, he hurt the alliance. And one of the things that was the huge question when Putin did invade Ukraine, remember, he thought it was going to be a couple of weeks at most. He thought that's how bad the alliance was. He didn't think NATO was going to come to the defense of Ukraine. And Joe Biden put it back together. If we went back to the conversations at that time, that's what they said. In fact, here, man, hang on. We'll see if we can catch you after the top of the hour, because you didn't give you enough time there. But that's one of the things that was said, was that Biden amazingly put NATO back together.
All right, we'll continue this conversation. Who's better to lead this nation in foreign policy, Trump or Harris? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. It is Tuesday, September 3rd. Following a long Labor Day weekend, we are back at it. A lot to cover today. Coming up in just a few minutes, Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora City Council at large. I got to tell you, when I'm out with the peeps, when I'm out talking to folks, they really like Danielle Jurinsky's leadership in the city of Aurora. They like the fact that she presses and presses and presses, and some of those dudes out there like Kyle Clark try to gaslight her a little bit, and she's like, I've got the facts, I got the texts, I got the experts telling me this. We are moving forward. I don't care if you do a little news story about it.
She's an atypical politician, and that's what we need in this day. And the way that she approaches it is fantastic. So, yeah, she's a great friend of the show, and we're happy to have her on today.
She'll be joining us a little bit later in the hour. And then 8 o'clock, Lauren Boebert and John Fabricatori join us live in studio to continue this conversation about the fall of Denzuela.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I like that.
No more Denver. We are now Denzuela. 40,000 illegal immigrants came into the city, and lo and behold, we have some issues. So we'll be covering that with them. And then Dave Williams in the 9 o'clock hour. Is he the chairman? Is Eli Bremer the chairman? Do we have two chairmen?
Oh, geez.
Is the RNC going to get involved? How did the meeting go over the weekend? I really appreciate the fact Dave's willing to come on.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely appreciate the fact he's willing to come on. We've had Eli as well. Look, I don't think you have any other news station in Colorado that's had both of them on.
No, not at all. Not at all. And again, we're not picking a dog in the fight. We're just, want to know who's going to come out and why we need to make the change now. And if so, okay, then what is the change going to do that's going to be positive? It's
100%.
It's just a matter of, examining. All of us have been fans of a team at one time or another, been disappointed or frustrated with the direction of the team or the coach. And that's kind of what you're seeing in some of the GOP membership right now. But it doesn't mean that necessarily you need to throw the coach out. And maybe you just change the direction of the team. Who knows? There are all sorts of different things. But, sports fans understand this frustration. So that's what we're playing along. We're just going to see what this goes.
9 o'clock hour, Dave Williams joins us. And we'll continue this conversation at the beginning of this hour. I want to hear from you. Who is best able to lead this nation when it comes to foreign policy? Over the weekend, 6 Israeli hostages executed by Hamas. Close quarter shooting took place before Israel could get there to rescue them. Israel generally knew where they were, but not specifically. So they're working quietly through Rafah to try to figure out where those Israeli hostages are. One of them's an American. Executed prior to being rescued. Kamala Harris warned Israel that if they invaded Rafah, this was months ago, right? That there was going to be, quote, consequences. This was the famous "I'm studying the maps" quote. She said that Rafah was a red line for the Biden-Harris administration that would trigger a cutoff of offensive weapons. In March, in an ABC interview, Harris said, "We have been clear in multiple conversations and in every way that any major military operation in Rafah would be a huge mistake. Let me tell you something. I have been studying the maps, and there would be consequences if Israel moves forward." I don't think Kamala Harris has the slightest idea what she's doing. And she's going to be the commander-in-chief. And every time she's been tested as a vice president on foreign policy issues, whether it's the border, whether it's Israel, whether it's Ukraine, she has failed. And there's a lot of issues that a president can address. Social issues, energy issues, spending issues, the economy, all that stuff. But the penultimate issue is foreign policy and their ability to keep this world from descending into chaos. And I don't think Kamala Harris can do that, has the experience, is smart enough, is bold enough to be able to lead the United States to keep peace in this world. And it's going to end up in a disaster. And I agree with Donald Trump. We may end up in World War III. But tell me where I'm wrong. 303-696-1971. Text us at 720-892-6757. We'll get to the phone calls in just a second. Let's check in with news and commentary from Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Good morning, Jeff and Billy. 61 and sunny, expecting a high of 91 today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story. It appears claims of the Hells Angel Motorcycle Club coming to Colorado to stand up against the Venezuelan gangs in Aurora are not true. Many saw this on social media over the holiday, but Aurora police say they don't believe the posts are credible. Aurora Council member Danielle Jurinsky joining Jeff and Bill coming up this hour.
Blake, I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the Hells Angels have a policy of telling people what they're doing via social media.
They didn't send out a memo.
Right, no press release.
a mass email. What do you call it? Where the emails go to millions of people. Yeah, I don't think they sent that out.
At least 3 p.m. today, we'll be having a bar fight down at the local.
Their communications director. I love it. Hey, second Colorado Republican Party leadership vote was held over the holiday weekend in Castle Rock, where supporters of Chairman Dave Williams approved keeping him in his role.
Well, every week this show looks better to me. Every week your eyesight gets worse.
Just last week, members of the Republican Central Committee gathered in Brighton and voted to remove him and replace him with Eli Bremer. Both men are now claiming to be the GOP chairman. Hey, time to break out the fake Hillary tricks.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Kamala Khan Harris, what a phony, breaking out her little fake dialect.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Because what we know.
She grew up in Canada and Northern California. But once again, all of a sudden, she's a Southern Baptist preacher, just a phony. Look at her. Avoiding press conferences, only speaks to her Democratic seals. And here she is, putting the butter on the grits.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
And the cackle is back. President Biden has also returned to the campaign trail, this time for Harris, and union members heard him yelling. They just didn't know what he was saying. Yes, he is still the president.
We are the greatest manufacturing city, county in the world, state in the world, city in the world.
Whatever.
We're going to remain that way. Eric Dean of the Iron Workers, Tim Driscoll of Bricklayers, April Bell of the SEIU, Lee Saunders of ASME, and a great friend, Roy Lee. And Jimmy Williams of the Painters Allied Trades and his dad. His dad is a really good man.
Yeah, he knows that. I bet he just met him like 15 seconds ago. Protesters in Israel have gathered outside the home of Prime Minister Netanyahu, demanding a ceasefire to free hostages held captive by Hamas. Protesters also demonstrated outside the U.S. Embassy in Israel, of course. Thousands of mourners attended the funeral on Monday for slain Israeli American Hirsch Goldberg Poland, one of the 6 hostages held captive by Hamas, whose bodies were found Saturday. A pedestrian is dead and another is in the hospital following a Sunday night hit and run in Westminster. A 46-year-old woman was killed near 72nd and Orchard, and a 52-year-old man seriously injured. Both victims were taken to a local hospital where the woman later died and the man remains in serious condition. The investigation led to the arrest of a 19-year-old man, and police say they don't believe drugs or alcohol were factors. Denver's Mile High Stadium has been nominated as a contender for the best NFL stadium. It's among a list of 20 other nominees and came in at number 1 in 2 different polls. for Best Overall Stadium and Best Stadium Food. Other nominees include the Chiefs Arrowhead Stadium. So you have Mile High and Arrowhead, two older stadiums. That tells you something. And the Las Vegas Raiders Allegiant Stadium in there in the top 3 AFC West teams. All right. 58 in Lafayette, 57 in Castle Rock, 61 in Denver.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
Jeff and Bill continue. It's Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Warm and sunny on this Tuesday. Denver will see highs approaching 90, lows tonight near 60 degrees. For Wednesday, a little bit cooler, mid-80s. Wednesday will bring a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures at night, 50s, and showers and thunderstorms could linger Wednesday night into Thursday. Thursday cooler, 70s, back to the 80s and dry Friday and Saturday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Bad news breaking over the weekend. 6 hostages executed by Hamas. I gotta bring this up because it's hard for me not to get super angry after spending 4 days with Palestinian protesters at the DNC who assured me that the Israeli hostages in Hamas were being treated so well. So well. You have no idea, Jeff. In fact, they write thank you letters back to their Hamas captors.
Yeah, you didn't know what you were talking about, did you? No, that's the way they treated you. You had no idea what you were talking about.
Actually being co-opted by an Israeli media machine that I think at one point they said raped their own citizens and then threw them into Gaza.
Yeah, that was one of the things I said. Because that makes sense. Rather than just looking and reflecting on the things that the people you support claimed they did. That's the weird part, is Hamas was claiming they did this. And they're like, no, it's the Israelis. Do the guys you're supporting know that? Because they're taking credit for it. That's weird, isn't it? Isn't it? When Hamas comes out and is like, look what we did to the Israeli pig dogs. You're like, but now you're arguing that the Israelis did it themselves. How do they convince Hamas to take credit? Really?
And I've seen the video that the IDF put together that they screened at the White House, they screened at the Capitol Hill. And I literally walked out and embraced one of my Jewish friends. And I was awful. Like, I am so sorry. Awful. And the video of the little boys, I won't get too graphic, so don't worry. But the video of the little boys and the video of the 15-year-old girls, man. And then, so I'm around these people for 4 days at the DNC talking about how great Palestine is. And then over the weekend, they shot 6 hostages. Shot them. These are people that have gone through what I can't even imagine the amount of hell that they went through for the last 330 so days since October 7th.
Yeah.
And then, God forbid, you get to go home.
Yeah, that's what they didn't want. They didn't want those hostages to go home, despite everything the protesters assured you of while you were there in Chicago about how well they were treated and they thank their captors. No, when it came down to it, the Hamas organization knew that Israel was getting close. They knew the IDF was getting closer and closer.
That's right.
They didn't have a solution. There wasn't anything they could do, and the hostages were going to be found. And their solution was, now they're going to find dead people. That's just shocking. And for anybody that is talking about support and understanding for what's going on in the Palestinian side of things, remember, this is the group that is in name only supposed to be fighting for the Palestinians.
Right.
And the way they do this is to execute the hostages so that they can't go home. Really, take a look at who you're supporting. Just really take a minute.
One of those hostages was an American, Hirsch Goldberg Paulin.
Yeah.
We played a little bit of the audio of his mother speaking at the funeral over the weekend. You need to take a second because it's just it's so frustrating. This is where we are. And Bill, correct me if I'm wrong on this. I guess what frustrates me about all of this in a lot of ways as an American is we have 7 American hostages still taken by Hamas. And I guess we had the Iranian hostages in the 70s up until Ronald Reagan came into office. And so I could be wrong about this, but I felt like I grew up where if you took an American, boy, was that bad news for you. 330 days we've had 7 American hostages by Hamas. And you have Kamala Harris saying, well, gosh, if Israel goes into Rafah, which is where they were found, there's going to be real consequences for you, Israel. Not Hamas. You, Israel, you're going to have real consequences. We might withhold funding from Israel for going into Rafah. I don't feel at all like our enemies fear us anymore.
Yeah, and I think the hostages were found in Gaza, not Rafah.
Okay.
I believe they were in Gaza.
Were they found?
Yeah, I believe that's,
Okay, National Review is saying that this is where they were found.
I don't know.
But
I got Reuters saying Gaza, but we can leave it to the side for now. But either way, the point stands.
But my question, and we'll get to Frank here in a second, I don't feel like America's feared anymore on the national stage. I feel like Putin's just gathering up as many hostages as he could get. Hamas clearly doesn't fear us, so they give us the 7 Americans back they've taken.
Well, I look at it a bit different because that's the reason the Americans are still alive, is because they're the most valuable. And that's the reason. And so if they had taken Australians or if they had taken people from Spain, those people have less chance of surviving because of the importance of America. So I'm not necessarily I agree with the idea of not being afraid of America. They understand the importance of America simply because those are their gold coins. Those are the ones that are worth more than anything else. The rest of them, you've got silver and bronze as far as the other hostages. But those Americans, those are worth gold because of all the international leverage that you can get. That's why they're still alive.
Yeah, so point. They can get money from us and also maybe returns of if we have any of their hostages. But man,
and try to hold Israel on a leash. That's the other idea too.
Where's the you mess with us? And I remember watching a documentary about the drug cartels in Colombia, the rise of the drug cartels in Colombia. Yeah. And at one point, they took a DEA agent, the cartels did, and just tortured the heck out of him and murdered him. And Reagan was like, wrong move, and just dropped the hammer on these guys to the point where they really didn't do that again. Not saying that they never messed with a DEA agent, but the point being, where's the fear? Where's the pain? Where's the suffering for taking an American citizen and making them fearful of us? I don't see that anymore. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Frank, Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Joe, good morning. Thank you, Jeff, for your question. I think it's a very important question. It probably is the important question of the election as to how our president, whoever it is, represents us on the world stage. I mentioned before that Whiff'em T-shirt, what's in it for me? But now I think we need to try to get a higher percentage of people in the U.S. who are voters to think WIFUS, what's in it for the U.S.? Because we've got 3 existential threats, basically, maybe more. 2 of them are communist, Russia and China, and all the things that they try to pull to hurt us or bring us down. And one of them is globalist, trying to change us into a globalist nation, getting away from our freedom and autonomy by lots of things, the foreign people coming in through the southern border and many other things. But, you know, when a president negotiates on the national scene, the opposite person across the table from him is thinking only two things. What can I get from this guy, or what can he do to us or me? And so you have to have a president that is serious. And, I think Kamala made a mistake in saying that Trump was not serious in some things. I've never seen a more serious person in my life. The guy's serious about everything. He's always got a scowl, but he's always thinking. So I think it's deadly serious who we pick for our next president, because that person is going to have to represent us on the world stage and negotiations with people who are big players and can hurt us in a lot of different ways.
And this is something that I think transcends partisanship. I hope it does. That who's ever in that office is a nasty son of a gun when it comes to negotiating with our foreign enemies. I just came back watching the Reagan movie Friday night with the family, and Ronald Reagan, while he was willing to try to build that friendship with Mikhail Gorbachev, at one point gets up and walks out and says, this deal is not good for the American people. I'm willing to walk away from it. I want, whether you're Republican or Democrat, and Frank, to your point, I think this is the big issue. Yeah, and thank you. Somebody texted me and said penultimate doesn't mean what you think it means, which is it's the end of a series. But I think that the person who leads that office, I want them to be a nasty son of a gun when it comes to negotiating. And if you take an American for your own stupid political purposes, whether you're Vladimir Putin, just gobbling up whoever travels to that country. Brittany Griner should have never been arrested. That was stupid. Watched a whole documentary about her. Never should have been arrested over there. All right. Whether you're that or you're Hamas gobbling up American Jewish joint Israeli residents there. So you have your purpose, and then executing them over the weekend, shooting a handcuffed person. I hope you pay. I hope America drops the hammer and this type of baloney ends. And I don't think at all that Kamala Harris is prepared to be able to do that. Everything she's done on the international stage has failed, whether it's the border, whether it's Hamas in Israel. And I don't think she's necessarily doing that great in Ukraine. But prove me wrong. I don't know. What do you think, Frank?
Well, you're absolutely right. The fact that you were a U.S. citizen used to mean something, and it meant something because they feared us of the retaliation. I think if you want to look at the example of the left versus the right in foreign negotiations, you go back to Carter and Reagan days when the Iranian crisis. They were not afraid of Carter because he would continue to try to negotiate, and they were afraid that Reagan would do, and he probably would have. That's the thing, that you go even back to Chamberlain trying to negotiate with Hitler versus us taking a stand. That's the sad thing about power and the attempts to gain power in the world. They only fear force. And as long as the U.S. has a great GNP, and that comes down to a lot of things, most of them espoused by Trump, for cheap energy prices, strong production. We got to get the country going again. Then you can take on all these enemies and become an existential threat to them rather than being a bigger existential threat to you.
I can see what you're saying, Frank. The issue I've got, I understand the idea that Trump's this strong international negotiator, but if we go back and look at what he did in North Korea, he ended up with nothing. He didn't get anything negotiated there.
I hear where you're coming from, Billy, and I know your brain's tendency to question, and I understand that, but I think Trump has a different negotiating style. His style is that to enter into any kind of negotiations with an opponent, you have to at least have a relationship or know that opponent. You can't know them by just hollering across the seas at them. You have to get to know them and where they're coming from. And I think Trump is always probing for their weaknesses when he negotiates with them. He's a master at that. He's done that for so long. And Kamala comes from a position of being the prosecutor. We've got this evidence on you, and here it is, and the judge will decide. but it's a whole different ball game on a world scene with those type of players.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that, Frank, but I would say that the former prosecutor, based on negotiating with criminals and what, they have going into court, there are some negotiations that have to happen through that prosecutorial discretion as well. That's the question. I just don't see Trump as this huge, strong negotiator that international people are going to fear. I'm not saying that Kamala is. I'm just saying that I don't see it on either end. That's it. But it's a fair point. I appreciate your call.
Frank, great call. Appreciate it. His line will be open 303-696-1971. Coming up in the next hour or later in this hour, Danielle Jurinsky is going to join us to give us an update on what is happening in the city of Aurora. You're going to get better news here than you will anywhere else. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us is Danielle Jurinsky. She is Aurora City Council at large and really the person that has been exposing more of what's happening with Venezuelan gangs in Denver and Aurora than any other person. She has bravely stood up to an entire machine that has tried to hide this from the American public. And she's been fantastic for a brief update on what is going on and what's been happening since all this has been exposed. Danielle Jurinsky, thanks for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, good morning. Oh, she should be there.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
We got you.
Good
Can you hear us?
morning.
Oh, good morning. We have a horrible connection, so I don't know what's going on, but good morning.
You sound great on our end, so we'll just keep moving forward. So give us an update. All of this has been exposed. Governor Polis has backtracked. Originally, he said this was all just a figment of your imagination. Now he's taking it very seriously as all these videos have come out about Venezuelan gangs in Aurora. Can you give us an update on what has happened in the past week or so?
Yeah, I mean, so there's been constant police presence now at the Dallas Street Apartments, but like I've said, it's more than just one complex. So I'm hoping to hear what we plan to do about some of these other complexes and how we plan to address this. I mean, I've watched so many folks walk this back. It's not even funny. And the thing is again, like I said, you know what? I knew this was going on for a long time. I asked questions. I asked for solutions. And I just watched. I just watched as the public was being, gaslit. I was being just lied right to my face. And so I knew that this video footage had already been turned over to the media, and it was only a matter of time before it was exposed. But couldn't allow it to be exposed without getting the Romeros moved out of that situation, or they truly believe they would have been killed. I do appreciate the governor's about face. I hope that he will be at the voice at the table. You see that Mike Kaufman already has. The only one who's still really in denial about this is the current interim police chief. And really all I can say to that is there's a reason she wasn't offered permanent position, and there's a reason that she'll be gone on September 9th.
Wow. Has Mayor Kaufman or Jared Polis apologized to you for the way they treated you?
I mean, do you think that would happen? That would never happen.
Fair point.
I mean, and let's remind people, in light of all the video that people have seen, gangs, guys with long guns, breaking down doors, intimidating residents of Aurora, Jared Polis said this was all a figment of your imagination.
Well, get it right. He said it's largely a feature of my imagination. But and there's been a lot that's gone on behind the scenes that I don't want to publicly address, but Jared got a phone call. Jared got a phone call that got him singing a different tune. And, it's sad because what I would have expected from my governor, when this came out, what I would have expected from him is, holy cow, like, on the phone with me. He should have been on the phone with me immediately. What do you know that I don't know that hasn't been conveyed to my office, even though it has? But that's the quiet part. He could have handled this much, much differently, and he could have come out of this looking like the hero. To be honest with you, and he lost a major opportunity there by taking this to immediately attacking me. Those videos don't lie. And it's interesting because the Party for Socialism and Liberation, they put out, I guess it's a TikTok video or something. And they said that they themselves have debunked this video and been able to prove that this is AI, that this video was made with AI. I mean, this just keeps getting weirder and weirder. I mean, you want to talk about who's weird here? There's a lot of weird people saying weird things right now.
Is the goal to hide the impact of becoming a sanctuary city and a sanctuary state? Is that really what's driving this at the end of the day?
Well, I think it has to be. And I think for me, right, anybody who knows me knows I'm never going to nail this whole politician thing. Not the way I dress, not the way I walk, talk, nothing. I'm never going to nail it. So in my head, I didn't actually put two and two together that this was going to turn into a massive cover-up, attack, whatever, what have you, and be accused of putting this out to try and elect Donald Trump. In my mind, I never put those pieces together. I saw folks that needed help and needed to get out of there. And like I said, I moved one gentleman out last Monday, and then I moved the Romeros out on Wednesday. The video footage had already been turned over to the media. It was coming out whether or not I was involved, whether or not I helped get folks out or not. So the fact that this has just been turned into, rhetoric by one group of folks, that this is happening to elect Donald Trump. This is happening because Kamala is leading in the latest polls. Well, so is Hillary. And honestly, that had nothing. I gave that no. I'm going to just be very, very honest with you folks here. Donald Trump was not on my mind at all the day I went in there and moved the Romeros out. He was not on my mind. I went in there and moved as fast as I could to get those people out.
So let's pivot here as to what the city of Aurora plans to do to address Venezuelan gangs. You said you've seen a turnaround from Mayor Mike Kaufman. How about the Aurora Police Department? What are they doing to ensure the safety of the residents of Aurora?
Well, I mean, I know that there's been serious police presence in that area, but again, that's only one complex. So everybody keeps thinking that it's just one I've said, and I've been consistent, it's multiple complexes. Mike Kaufman, he went on Fox News National and he admitted to 3 properties under this current gang control. And then John Kellner, our DA, he also went on Fox News and he doubled down and called the governor out for saying that this is imaginary. He said, this is absolutely not imaginary. And the cases that are being sent into his office for prosecution are horrifying. Home invasion, assault, kidnapping, gun charges. I mean, whatever, what have you, you name it. Well, who's filing those charges? The Aurora Police Department. And as a reminder, it's the Aurora Police that started coming to me. The police officers started coming to me, telling me what was going on. Say, hey, we're being ignored. We're not being heard. For whatever reason, the chief's office is trying to bury this. So I mean, the police chief's office can continue to say whatever the heck it is that they want to say. The DA has confirmed the seriousness and all of the charges that are being filed into his office by the Aurora Police Department. The mayor has admitted to at least 3 apartment complexes under this gang control. The narrative has completely changed. Again, there is a reason the current interim police chief was not even offered an interview for the permanent position, and there is a reason that she will be gone on September 9th.
Wow. Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora City Council at large. I mean, Danielle, everywhere I go, even yesterday, we did a pre-screening of a new film coming out by Matt Walsh. People were talking about you. And so, yes, you may not follow in the footsteps of being a political type of person, but the people really appreciate your leadership in the city of Aurora. I hear it time and time again. We know you got a very busy day. Thank you so very much for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a wonderful day.
All right, keep it up. Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora City Council at large. Look, Billy, she's got to just sit back at this point and go,
yeah.
At the end of the day, it was for the people.
Yeah, exactly. And again, the issue is she was just raising your hands going, why is this going on? What's going on?
Right, she's not driving an agenda.
No, and rather than...
Did you hear her say we got to get all the Venezuelans and kick them back down to Venezuela?
No, she's just like, this can't happen. Why? Where are the police? Where'd everybody come in? Who's dealing with this? Why can't we deal with this? Why isn't anybody listening to, things that my constituents are saying is bothering them? Why can't we get some action here? And the response was, you're imagining this. Like, what? Seriously, all the videos, a bunch of people, some sort of mass delusion that happened, that, the idea that they sent a hazmat crew down to that parking lot after all those Venezuelans gathered that evening and acted a fool, they sent a hazmat team down there. That wasn't to clean up imaginary unicorn poop. It was because of real poop. I mean, seriously, come on.
That is exactly right. I say Lisa from Castle Rock sums it up perfectly. In a world of Jared Polis politicians, be a Danielle Jurinsky.
Absolutely. Yeah, she's fantastic. I'm just giving her a text message. We had a little bit of connection problems there and saying thank you and hope she has a good day because I know she's got a stress day and she carved out a little bit of time just for our listeners. And we really appreciate it today.
Janet wrote she is destined for the national stage. I agree.
I hope so.
I think that's
really hope so.
that people want that right now. They just want the honesty in their politicians. And to Danielle's point, she wasn't expecting this. She was not trying to jump into a national conversation about the border with Donald Trump and Kamala Harris.
No.
She's looking at her own people, getting text messages from her own police officers going, we have a serious problem in this community. And then you got the kind of political pushback. Don't believe what your eyes are telling you.
Exactly.
And that's when it became a national story.
Yes.
That's actually when it became a national story. The way the Democrats and the left responded to it made it the national story.
Yep, absolutely. Because strangely enough, they didn't anticipate there was going to be more video. There's always going to be more video. So the idea that they just responded and said they just dismissed her was ridiculous. And the core of that, it's very important to come back to. All she was trying to do is help her constituents. When she first talked to us about it, when John Fabricatori is going to join the show live in studio later, first talked to us about it, it wasn't, hey, look at the stupid thing the Democrats are doing, or look at the thing that Mike Johnston is doing. They're like, no, look at what's happening to our community.
Yes.
They were about the problem and how do we fix this? This wasn't ever about blame at the beginning. It didn't become about blame until one side, said something about imagination. That's when things became difficult, and that's when things got ridiculous.
All right, we'll continue this conversation. He just walked into the room.
Hey, look at that.
John Fabricatori is here. He was part of all of this. He's going to get to spike the football, too, at least on this issue. And spiking the football, not in the sense of we fixed it.
No.
But my goodness, were they right when other news agencies were trying to say you're just a what was it? It wasn't figment of imagination.
It was a part of her imagination or whatever.
Largely a feature of her imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
like, come on.
Hi, it's Jeff from the Jeff and Bill Show for my friends at Mountain High Appliance. They've cooked up some tasty deals for your kitchen. Now, for a limited time, receive up to a $3,000 rebate with the purchase of qualifying GE Cafe appliances. Enjoy the Mountain High Appliance price match guarantee and special financing options. Visit one of their 4 locations for all the details and upgrade your kitchen with GE Cafe appliances in Denver, East 64th, Littleton, Louisville, and Glenwood Springs. Mountain High Appliance. Experience the difference. Coming up here in just a few minutes, John Fab and Lauren Boebert live in studio. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Man, we are kicking it off well this Tuesday morning, September 3rd. Coming up in just a few minutes, Lauren Boebert and John Fabricatore join us. Love these two out there doing the Lord's work, trying to get this country back on the right direction. But in the meantime, Billy.
Yes.
We have a special guest in studio.
We do.
Let's use and abuse.
Yes, we are going to have John Fabricatore make some very questionable choices this morning. It's something that we call You Choose the News. Every morning, I scour the interwebs for mere moments to find really dumb stories about us humans. Then I give them even dumber headlines to play this stupid radio news game show. Why? Because the people in charge have no idea we're doing it. Yes, we will take full advantage of frivolity and silliness when we are not being supervised. That's at least what my parents learned. Alrighty. So now, because we have John Fabricatore in studio, we are going to supplant Blake Olson. We are going to have him join us instead of Blake. Alrighty. Mr. Fabricatore, you are choosing our second story this morning. Mr. Hunt, here are our choices since you get first crack at these. Headline number 1, taking outlaws off the street. Headline number 2, why can't we be friends? Headline number 3, keep your hands to yourself. And headline number 4, a callback to the DNC, zombie power.
We're going to the DNC zombie power.
Zombie power is choice number 1. Here we are going to Uganda. Recently, a witch doctor has been put under house arrest for reportedly trying to resurrect a dead person. Since we're talking about it, you can tell how well it went. No, the person wasn't actually able to resurrect the dead person, but they were holding the family hostage for what would be about $80. They said that, yes, if you pay me $80, I can raise your loved one from the dead. Well, since it didn't happen, the family reported them to local parish counselor, so the witch doctor is now under house arrest and had to pay a fine. What, pray tell, is the fine for a witch doctor in Uganda? This one was fined 1 cow, 2 goats, and about $112.
That's actually a pretty dang significant fine.
Yeah, it is. The cows and the goats. So, yeah, that is kind of a big one. All righty. Mr. Fabricatore, choose carefully. Your choices are taking outlaws off the street, why can't we be friends, or keep your hands to yourself.
Taking outlaws off the street.
I was going to say, you were definitely going to pick that one.
Oh, here we travel to Rio de Janeiro. Not only has Brazil taken that bad app of X off everybody's phones, they're now taking control of the streets by getting rid of claw machines. Yes, claw machines are now outlawed in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. They say it's because it is a game of, well, chance rather than a game of skill. And since they're marketed as games of skill, no. So, yes, they actually have police officers wandering around Rio de Janeiro looking for claw machines and then arresting them, I
in
guess.
all your time
Yes.
as law enforcement, was that one of your major priorities?
No, but it doesn't surprise me at all. No.
Yeah, not in Brazil.
No.
Got to take care of those claw machines. All righty. Mr. Hunt, your final choice this morning. Why can't we be friends, or keep your hands to yourself?
Keep your hands to yourself, Billy boy.
Yes, you got to learn to keep your hands to yourself, and that's what Ricky Roberts, 36-year-old from Sheffield, England, has been told recently. He was arrested early in July by the South Yorkshire Police Department because he was trying to break into a Ford van on a road in Sheffield. He was discovered in the process of trying to force his way into said van, and then he ran away when he saw the police officers. He got on a pedal bike, but was arrested less than 20 minutes because he's really not that much in shape. So now the question is, what's going to happen to him? Well, the officers arrested him, filed charges, and now he's gone to court. It's been adjudicated, and he is now prevented from touching cars. Yes, part of his punishment is he is no longer allowed to touch any vehicle that is unattended. So unless there is someone inside, no touching the car.
No touchy.
I know. How do you possibly enforce that? And does he sit there and say, does he go near and say, not touching it? You know, like with the little kids in the back, not touching it, not touching it. I mean, what do you do? Just how is that part of the punishment?
That
Just
is
don't touch the
amazing.
cars.
Yeah, and that's
I
where
know.
we should spend our police
Yes, exactly.
resources.
That's how we
Follow
need to
that
do
guy
it.
around. No touchy.
But at least we're not dealing with the, the zombies. So that's it. Unfortunately, that is the end of You Choose the News. That is all the time we have for the silliness before the people in charge wake up. That's how we roll this. Then always, John and Jeff are your big winners. I'm just a big giant loser. Back to you, sir.
Coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, joining us live in studio, Lauren Bobert and John Fabricatore. We're going to continue this conversation on Venezuela and the Venezuelan gangs that have now made this city their home, and why this all became a national issue when it could have easily been addressed. We spoke with Danielle Jurinsky about that. This was just simply about serving the people of Aurora, but because they lied about it, it became a national story, essentially making it way worse for themselves. What's Jared Polis going to do next? Mayor Mikey, Kyle Clark, they're all in it together. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. You woke up this morning in the greatest country in history. You won the lottery. And we're gearing up for a whole hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear, literally. Billy, we were like 2 weeks ahead of every other news agency out there about the Aurora Venezuelan Denzuela gang issue.
Yep.
I mean, just simply because we had community leaders on.
Yeah.
There's no agenda being driven here.
Like John and
Our
Danielle
friends,
joining us and
John
saying, hey, have you seen
Danielle?
this?
Yeah. Like, they're like, did you see the giant Target gathering?
Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you hear we may have gang problems? Yeah. And
You know what
this
they're doing in
idea,
an apartment complex?
we're getting a text message from Tony here that this was somehow they're ignoring the idea that these were slumlords. No, we've actually talked about that the landlords were not great people either.
Oh, of course. And that's why it's a soft target, because if it was a well-kept apartment complex, then you don't have this element moving in there. But once they found a soft target, they took advantage of it. And the landlord does have some responsibility there for one, keeping it in that situation, two, when becoming aware of it. And if you're not aware of it, I got bigger questions. If you're not aware that this is happening inside your apartment complex, you're an awful landlord. And then when you were notified of it, that you didn't do anything about it. There are layers of responsibility here that are just crap.
And what ended up happening from what it seems to be is Danielle Jurinsky and John Fabricatori walked in to this, hush, we can't, no, don't you know what's at stake here? A presidential election. And we can't let the American public know that these sanctuary policies are actually harming the people of America, people of Colorado and Aurora and the United States. So we've got to keep it hush hush. So it's a quote right-wing conspiracy.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, guess who was right? Danielle Jurinsky and John Fabricatori, and they're both on today. John Fab coming up here in just a second, along with Lauren Boebert. You're not going to want to miss it, but first, news and commentary with the great Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. I appreciate that. And Billy, John, welcome to the studio. 66 and sunny. Expecting a high of 91 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I mean, I've watched so many folks walk this back. It's not even funny. And the thing is again, like I said, you know what? I knew this was going on for a long time. I asked questions. I asked for solutions.
Danielle Jurinsky, Aurora council member at large, on with Jeff and Bill last hour. It appears claims of the Hells Angel Motorcycle Club coming to Colorado to stand up against the Venezuelan gangs in Aurora are not true. Many saw this on social media over the holiday weekend, but Aurora police say they don't believe the posts are credible. Even though Governor Polis has totally pulled a Kamala Khan and walked back and changed his tune on everything with the Venezuelan gang problem in Aurora, Jurinsky hopes he helps to rid the problem there and in Denver, because he really went after Jurinsky after she exposed the crisis.
He could have handled this much differently, and he could have come out of this looking like the hero, to be honest with you. And he lost a major opportunity there by taking this to immediately attacking me. You know, those videos don't lie. And it's
a second Colorado Republican Party leadership vote was held over the holiday weekend in Castle Rock, where supporters of Chairman Dave Williams approved keeping him in his role. Just last week, members of the Republican Central Committee gathered in Brighton and voted to remove him and replace him with Eli Bremer.
Why do we keep doing this?
Both men are now claiming to be the GOP chairman.
Well, every week this show looks better to me. Every week your eyesight gets worse.
Time to break out the fake Hillary tricks.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Kamala Khan, what a phony, breaking out her little fake dialect.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Because what we know
is that you grew up in Canada with the fruits and nuts also in Northern California. But once again, all of a sudden, she's the Southern Baptist preacher avoiding a press conference, too busy to talk to journalists. And here she is putting the butter on the grits.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
And the cackle is back. President Biden has also returned to the campaign trail, this time for Harris in Pittsburgh. Heard him yelling. They all did. They just didn't know what he was saying.
We are the greatest manufacturing city, county in the world, state in the world, in the world.
Whatever.
We're going to remain that way. Eric Dean of the Iron Workers, Tim Driscoll of Bricklayers, April Bell of the SEIU, Lee Saunders of ASME, and a great friend, Roy Lee, and Jimmy Williams of the Painters Allied Trades, and his dad. His dad is a really good man.
Yeah. And yes, he is still the president. Protesters in Israel have gathered outside the home of Prime Minister Netanyahu's home. I think I already said that, demanding a ceasefire to free hostages held captive by Hamas. Protesters also demonstrated outside the U.S. Embassy in Israel. Thousands of mourners attended the funeral on Monday for slain Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg Poland, one of the 6 hostages held captive by Hamas, whose bodies were found Saturday. A man is dead following a Monday afternoon officer-involved shooting in Glenwood Springs. It happened at the Glenwood Meadows Retail Center, where officers spotted a man who had an outstanding warrant or warrants. Police say the man pulled out a gun when they approached him, and one of the officers opened fire. The man was pronounced dead at the scene. A child is okay following a scary close encounter with a bear in Aspen. The boy's mom says he was having a snack in the backyard in a lawn chair when the bear snuck behind him, coming within a foot of the child. The mother says she was frozen in fear, but the boy's brother came to the rescue by making loud noises, which scared the bear away. The whole incident was caught on the family's home security camera. 64 in Arvada, 63 in Parker, 66 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue.
Why do we keep doing this?
It's Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Warm and sunny on this Tuesday. Denver will see highs approaching 90, lows tonight near 60 degrees. For Wednesday, a little bit cooler, mid-80s. Wednesday will bring a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures at night, 50s, and showers and thunderstorms could linger Wednesday night into Thursday. Thursday cooler, 70s, back to the 80s and dry Friday and Saturday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, live in studio in the Jeff and Bill Show, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert and soon-to-be Congressman John Fabricatore are hanging out with us today.
We're like at the cool kids table.
I know, finally.
I'm not allowed at the cool kids table.
I was never allowed at the cool kids
Me
table.
either. This is so awesome.
Because I'd end up talking about Jesus, and then they were like, oh, we don't want that. Lauren Boebert, John Fabricatore, it has been a wild week for Colorado nationally, right? All because there was this kind of concerted effort from Jared Polis, Kyle Clark, Mayor Mike Kaufman, which I think he changed his tune. I like Mayor Mike a lot, but this kind of bizarre effort to go, no. There's nothing happening here, guys. It's all a figment of your imagination that Venezuelan gangs have somehow hurt people in the city of Denver and the city of Aurora. Now, who's done a really good job covering all this is Do Better Denver. And they created a timeline going back to a shooting in a 13-hour SWAT standoff that took place at 1568 Nome that Aurora police didn't even tweet about. That's kind of where it all started on July 28th, 2024. John, what's happened since then?
Yeah, so I actually started covering it right after that shooting because I had gotten some information from some officers that I knew that potentially there was Tren de Aragua that was involved in that shooting. So after that, I started kind of diving a little bit deeper into it and got in touch with the landlords and started getting information from the landlords that they had been sending to the city about how many problems they had at that location. Some of the information that I was able to get was from Aurora PD on how many crimes had been committed in that area. And then things just started snowballing after that. I had been talking to Danielle Jurinsky. She had already been on it for a while, trying to convince people that there were issues going on in this area. And a lot of people just weren't paying attention to her. And then all of a sudden we started having shootings. People started winding up in hospitals. And that's when this just went out of control and we started finding out a lot of information.
And so, Danielle Jurinsky, you start to make this public.
Yep.
We have a serious issue here. And to, everyone's kind of bizarre perspective on this, you get major Democrat leaders trying to go, no, there's nothing happening here. It seems like, bottom line, the effort is we don't want to highlight any problems we might have being a sanctuary state, sanctuary city. Is that what's underlying all this?
Yeah, for me, it really goes back even a little bit more than that. With the sanctuary jurisdiction in the state, Governor Polis has really always pushed that. He's been in support of it. And then, the upper echelon leadership of Aurora PD, because I'm not going to bash the men and women of Aurora PD. They do a great job. But that leadership at the chief level, Art Acevedo was the police chief here. He left in January. He's one of the worst police chiefs in the United States. The guy's burned down every single department that he's been at. He leaves he leaves here. He knows bad things are going on. Leaves interim chief Heather Morris to hold the bag on that. And I really do believe she just was trying to hide a lot of stuff because she's out the door now. A new police chief is coming in September. And I just think they were trying to suppress a lot of that information so that it didn't seem like Aurora was as bad as it was. But it's bad. I mean, we have the Sentinel out here, this paper, the Sentinel, throwing out accusations that all of this is wrong. And their whole focus on that is that Aurora's always had a gang problem. So why are we talking about this now? Let's just forget that we have crime. Yeah, we have crime. People are getting shot. People are getting robbed. But it's always been like that in Aurora. So why are you guys making a big deal about it? And it's just ridiculous.
Joining us also in studio, Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. Now, your new district that you're running for will also include parts of Aurora.
Correct.
So you're not immune to this. I know a lot of it falls into John and Jason Crow. By the way, have you heard anything from Jason?
No, absolutely not.
Neither have I. Not a word about this.
Well,
I thought he was such a hero that's always
going
to stay until the end, and make sure everybody gets out safe.
He's DC elite now.
He absolutely is. It's that DC double speak that they pick up on so quickly.
And he's one of your colleagues, Lauren Boebert. I mean, he's part of the group of folks that represent the state of Colorado. I mean, have you found any leadership from him at all on this issue?
Not on this issue, nor many others. He absolutely follows the talking points of the Democrat Party. And in fact, he was kind of starting to break free of Joe Biden right when everyone else was starting to and challenge Joe Biden. But now he's off the hook for that. So he could go back to all of their policies and advocate for those and say Kamala's here to, usher in this new era of Obama and Biden, I guess. But this is a problem. So I do have a sliver of Aurora in the 4th district, and John Fabricatori has been amazing on this issue, as well as Danielle Jurinsky. And I'm so glad you had her on the show today to really highlight what is going on, because this is not a feature of anyone's imagination. People are getting injured. They are going to the hospital. There are multiple complexes that are being overrun by this gang. And it doesn't stop there. And it doesn't stop in Aurora. Sure, there are still safe places in Aurora, and Aurora PD do a fabulous job at policing However, there also needs to be more prosecutions when it comes to this, and they need to be able to work with ICE agents to deport illegal aliens out of our communities. We have multiple counties who are engaged in a lawsuit right now against Colorado because of their sanctuary status, and they're saying we are not even able to communicate with ICE agents. Sure, ICE has a presence and they are able to do their job to a degree, but if you can't communicate with the local elected officials, then what good is it really? So we're here to highlight this, and I'm so happy that Fabricatory has led on this issue and has been a voice for Colorado's 6th district, because people need a voice right now, especially when their sitting congressman is silent on this issue.
Well, and you are a federally elected official, so the work you do tends to be at the federal level. Earlier in the show, we asked this question: who's best to address particularly foreign policy issues, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump? Kamala Harris over in March saying that Israel would face, quote, consequences if it invaded Rafah. Well, guess where the hostages were found over the weekend?
Right.
Rafah.
In Rafah.
Right.
Yes.
So I'm pointing out, at any level, whether it's the border, whether it's Israel, whether it's Ukraine, you don't have successes coming from the Biden-Harris administration. Now Kamala Harris wants to be the president of the United States. You have challenged her. You have spoken out against her on the floor of the House of Representatives in Washington, D.C. Why is she so wrong to lead this nation when it comes to foreign policy?
Well, not only has she taken a backseat on many issues, but she's also been on the front line of many issues. She has been tie-breaking votes for many of the spending votes that have caused us inflation and has caused harm on average everyday families throughout our nation. But also, she was appointed border czar, and she has done nothing to secure our southern border. A few years back, I even brought a cutout of Kamala Harris to the southern border just to raise awareness that that's the most presence she has had at the southern border. You know, I maybe she's been to Europe since then. I don't know. But she has been right there alongside Joe Biden and every other radical Democrat on these issues, and she will continue to fail Americans and usher in the decline of our great country. So we do need Donald Trump back in office, but more than that, even right now, Congress has to get a hold of the funding. You can talk to just about any conservative Supreme Court justice, and if we are griping about an agency or something that's going on, they'll say, well, don't bring us more cases. You have the power of the purse. If you don't like what these agencies are doing, don't fund them. So right now we have spending coming up. September 30th is when the government magically runs out of money. And we have some tough challenges ahead. What are we going to ask for to tie those tax dollars, that federal funding, to these agencies? And I think securing our elections, securing our border are always a top issue, especially under the Biden-Harris administration.
Do you think we could ever get away from these omnibus spending packages? What drives me crazy is it's like, well, we just toss it all in. You got to vote yes or no on everything instead of going line by line through stuff.
Right. And that's why I need John Fabricatory in Congress with me in the next year. Just past the last January, I fought to get individual appropriations bills, and we are developing great muscle memory with those. We're actually getting a vote and doing the work to produce individual appropriations bills for the spending. But unfortunately, we don't have the Senate. Kamala Harris is the tie-breaking vote in the Senate, and Joe Biden is not going to sign our individual bills into law. So we're faced with omnibus bills, minibuses, and even continuing resolutions. So if I can get good conservative fighters like John Fabricatory, who has experience on securing our southern border, you were the director of ICE here, and he worked under the Trump administration, has that experience, and knows those funding levels that will be appropriately appropriated. We don't need to just throw dollars at the Department of Homeland Security. We need to ensure that there is the right policy for them to do their job, so they aren't going home defeated and demoralized every day. But having those individual appropriations bills, that single subject spending, if you will, is key. And it is one of the main functions of our job as legislators.
How's Greg Lopez doing?
Greg has been wonderful in Washington, D.C. I think he's making the 4th District extremely proud. Now, he has said he's not going to run for office, but he is taking his job very, very seriously. He's not going to run for Congress anytime soon. And he is taking that job very seriously. He and I have had multiple sit downs where he's saying, I need a win for Colorado, and coming up with those local solutions that have a federal nexus. For instance, we have zip code bills where we can actually generate tax revenue for local areas like Castle Pines or Lone Tree, Colorado, or Centennial that don't have a designated zip code. So let's work on getting this so they can get those tax dollars back in where they belong. Lone Tree loses about $5 million a year in tax revenues just because they don't have a designated zip code. So there's that and many other things that Greg is working with me on, but also he's finding other colleagues to work on issues that benefit Colorado.
Now, you are Lauren Boebert, the Republican nominee for Congressional District 4. You currently serve as the Congresswoman from Congressional District 3. The previous Congressman for Congressional District 4 was Ken Buck. Have you heard from Ken? Has Ken been helping you out at all?
John Fabricatore, have you heard from Ken Buck?
No, not a word.
No,
Not
okay,
a
maybe he's
word.
hanging out with Jason Crow.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
No word from Ken, and that's just, it breaks my heart because I knew Ken when he first got in there, and the gunfight that he had, well, not literally a gunfight, but he wanted to hang his AR-15 up on the wall, and he was willing to stand for that. He wasn't going to do all the swampy stuff with John Boehner and refused the committee appointments and all that stuff, and then just
well, maybe
I don't know.
I guess that says it all. He wanted his AR-15 just as a wall ornament, and I carry my Glock in Congress every day, so I don't have anything hanging on my wall.
Are you allowed to do that? That's amazing. Because I remember there was when I was there, when I worked in DC, there was maybe it was a staff that got busted for carrying in the senator's gun or something at some of it. Good for you, Lauren Boebert. We're talking with Lauren Boebert, Congresswoman from Congressional District 3, now running for 4, and John Fabricatore, who's running to unseat Jason Crow. Let's talk a little bit about Jason Crow. So Jason Crow and we talked about this last time on our show. We went and looked up the Heritage Foundation voting record for him, and he was more liberal than AOC and the entire squad. And people don't know about this. You work with the squad. How liberal do you have to be more progressive than the squad?
You have to be as progressive as you can get. And again, this is why I need John Fabricatore to win this congressional race November 5th. I need people to show up and vote for him, because it's not enough if it's me in Colorado speaking out. I need John Fabricatore, Gabe Evans, Jeff Hurd, Jeff Crank to come alongside of me and be leaders for the nation from our small state of Colorado. We have got to drown out the narrative that the progressive left has complete control of. They own the media, and the media is willing to spin anything, gaslight the American public. We just heard it on this topic that we're here to discuss today. Governor Jared Polis said that gangs invading Aurora, occupying apartment complexes, are a feature of your imagination. This is the definition of gaslighting your constituents. And so John Fabricatore and I are here to raise awareness to that, but also more than that, we want to take action. And so he and I have been strategizing on what that looks like and how we can, first of all, bring that awareness and then also act on it.
So let's talk Jason Crow, John Fab, and why you're better than him.
Well, there's a lot of reasons. And number one, like you said, I mean, he's completely to the left. And when I've been going around neighborhoods and walking neighborhoods, knocking on doors and asking people about Jason, they say, but he's a moderate. Because that gets put in their head by media all the time. When Jason goes on CNN or MSNBC, the first thing they say when they introduce him is, here's the moderate Democrat Congressman Jason Crow. So they put that little tidbit in people's minds, and they don't go online like you did and actually look to see what his voting record is. So the first thing I do is I show people his voting record, and they're astounded by how far to the left he is, and they can't believe it. Jason's so far to the left. He voted against the SAVE Act. He voted against the Lincoln-Riley Act. He voted against deporting illegal aliens that are convicted of DUIs. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And he stands up there with his Ukrainian flag, waving it around in Congress.
That was the first time I cussed on the House floor, by the way.
Oh,
I'm surprised it took me so many years to do it, but that
believe
did
me,
it.
It surprised so many people. I mean, I had people reaching out to me that were just incensed when they saw that, you know, and And so I think people just need to realize they need to do a little bit of research. I need to get better at making that part of my message about what Jason does not do for the United States and actually what he's doing to the United States. I just really need to start ramping that message up, letting people see exactly what he's not doing for Colorado, and then, make that my main message.
Well, and you probably haven't heard about Venezuelan gangs from him, have you?
Not a word. I mean, did
he put a statement out about the signs?
Yes, he absolutely did. He went out, put a statement. It was the same canned statement that came from every Democrat in the area about how mad.
Time. Yeah. Right. I was amazed.
Yeah.
There is nothing to get them more fired up than a sign going up, but you have gang issues.
Yeah, people dying. Yeah, you have people getting assaulted. Yeah. And then their whole thing is, look, that the sign wasn't a good thing. It was put up by some guy that's, just a political artist, let's just call it that. But originally they said it was two older white women that put the signs up, and no one retracted that story. They're leaving that story out there, So, I mean, it is what it is. We're not going to hear from Jason. Jason's not going to mention my name. He won't debate me. He won't do anything. He doesn't want people being able to look me up and see what my background is.
No debate. Hold on. No debate?
No debate.
Lauren, you're debating.
I'm debating today. There's no excuse for no debate, zero debates. Have an opportunity to prove that contrast.
Yeah, I mean, Val is not getting a debate either against DeGette. What does DeGette have to lose?
Right. Nothing. She is grandfathered into redistricting and everything. But, I just want to go back to this, like having that contrast. So you're hearing from John Fabricatore, who is running to represent Colorado's 6th district in a positive way. He has the experience. He has the background. He's worked in the administration. He's been in law enforcement. He is the boots on the ground. He's not just some engineer in a room that's reading talking points or writing what looks good on paper. He's had that experiential knowledge, and to go forward and actually implement that and have the policies that benefit us. But also, we mentioned Jason Crow is labeled as a moderate Democrat. Well, that's Colorado Democrats. They all do that. Governor Jared Polis is labeled as a moderate Democrat. We've all experienced 2020 and the COVID shutdowns and the tyranny that took place there, and he was still considered a moderate because this is a conservative state, even though we've had Democrats overtake our elections. And just one more comment on the signs here that were put up. I didn't see any statements in mass or at all from the Democrats when our Capitol building in Denver, the People's House, was graffitied and windows were smashed in during the 2020 summer riots, the summer of love. But you put up a couple of signs that expose what's really happening, well, then you're going to hear from them. But, some spray paint and bashed windows, couple lawmakers have their cars bashed in. That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Lauren Boebert, candidate for Congressional District 4, in studio along with John Fabricatore, candidate for Congressional District 6, joining Jeff and Bill live. Yes, we are at the Cool Kids table today. I never get to sit at the Cool Kids table. Now, John Fab, I got a suggestion for you. I understand Jason Crow is trying to ignore his record. He is trying to just be this generic, feel-good type of candidate. As you go forward, please highlight the difference in the response from Jason Crow on the signs versus the Venezuelan gangs. The idea of putting the two pictures next to each other and say, which one did Jason Crow respond about? Which one did he say was something that he needed to get involved and he needed to make a statement? Because he's talking about signs, not talking about people in Colorado, in Denver Metro being hurt and assaulted, not talking about gangs taking over a parking lot for an entire evening where businesses had to close down and one employee was assaulted, not talking about people going door to door inside of an apartment complex with weapons looking to assault and intimidate people. That doesn't bring a response from the strong, tough Jason Crow. But a sign, signs are scary. We can't have signs. Can't have that. Please, as you're talking to people, go up there and outline the difference as far as what got Jason's attention and what he felt was important for him to comment on, and then ask them what's important to them. That's the one that's going to impact them. And that's the difference in John Fabricatore.
Thank you, sir.
I'm afraid to go here, but I'm just going to go here.
Ooh, I'm excited now. Where are we going?
I just think that people think Jason Crow's cute.
Actually, I'm just gonna put it out there. I was knocking on a door. I got a young lady at the door.
See, I think the girls think he's cute.
And I started bringing up his record, and then she goes, "But he's better looking than you." And she slammed the door on me. And
you're better looking.
I was like, "Come on! I know I've taken a lot of punches to this face over the years, being a former fighter. But come on now, come on."
John, you weren't asking her to prom.
No, I was trying to show Jason's record. She just slammed the. He's better looking than you.
I see it in Dana Perino's eyes, and here's this is why he's on there. Look, this gets into. I had this This gets into a much bigger conversation about the way Democrat women think, and I think they feel like Kamala Harris is their gal pal, right? She's been Oprah-fied. So that we're not into the realms of facts and policy or any of that stuff. It is just. I feel like she's my friend. And then I think people see Jason Crow on TV and they're like, well, he's the perfect Democrat man. He served our country. He's progressive.
He's got the baby blues.
And he's cute.
I liked him in that Private Ryan movie. He looks like a Private Ryan. That's the issue. It's not. You don't vote on that, people. You don't vote on that.
So help us, Lauren Boebert. You're a woman. We can define who a woman is here in this show. What's the message to Democrat women that look at Jason Crow and go, he's a war hero. He votes Democrat. He's compassionate. He's going to protect my rights, and he's cute. What do you say to that?
Well, with a lot of these women, unfortunately, it's really not even the Democrat women that you have to convince that to. There's a lot of there's a lot of just middle-aged, college-educated women who see that on a regular basis and put that as their narrative and as their focal point. But to the women who have children, let's protect your children at every stage. Let's ensure that their schools are safe, that they are protected, that you don't have to worry when they leave the door during the day. And even when they come back from school at night, you don't have a Venezuelan gang member knocking at your door, demanding the last of your income to pay them rather than the property management. So we need to protect children. And it is also about protecting women. Okay, there's a lot of women who may be scared of a gun. Okay, they don't want to carry a firearm. Well, that is your means of protection. And if you don't want that, well, then you're going to want to live in a secure area and to ensure that the city that you live in is safe. So it's all about safety. And, if we go to any other Democrat policy, it's about affordability. Do you want to be able to afford where you are living and where you are sending your children to school? Because the Democrat policies have caused so much inflation through their out of control spending and their radical policies. And now Kamala Harris wants price fixing and all of this. She wants to give $25,000 down payment to first time home buyers. Like builders aren't going to just raise their rates. Come on. Now, this is totally imaginary. That is imaginary, not Venezuelan gangs in Aurora. And so my message to the women is let's be smart. Let's be safe.
Yeah.
And
I like
that. If I'm a woman wanting protection, I'm not going to look to Jason Crow. I'm going to look to John Fabricatore.
I know that's and for the record, you are better looking.
Oh, thank you, bro. I appreciate that.
Pain from arthritis is just awful. Bone on bone, constant pain. It robs you of so much of the stuff you love to do. But there are effective ways to deal with that pain. And I'm not talking about drugs or surgery. Listen, there are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. And the place to go, QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. If you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, you need to know that steroids and surgery and pain pills are no longer your only options. Learn how QC Kinetics can use advanced regenerative medicine to treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore your mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. The local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back with regenerative, restorative cellular treatments for your achy joints. This is the future for medicine. Billy, by the way, you know who also does readings for QC Kinetics?
Who?
Oh, Emmett Smith.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's fantastic.
Dude, me and Emmett Smith, man.
Dude, that's awesome.
Telling you, I'm next level. All right, call for a free consultation now. 303-900-8986. 303-900-8986. Join me and Emmett Smith in supporting QC Kinetics locations in Aurora, Superior, Colorado Springs, and Highlands Ranch. Our conversation with John Fabricatori and Lauren Boebert continues. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's a good song for Lauren Boebert. I can see Lauren with the baseball bat. Remember that video? Carrie Underwood in that movie. She's a tough country girl. All right, John Fabricatori joins us along with Lauren Boebert live in studio. John, people need to know this. This is really, really important. You're a former regional ICE director.
Yes, correct.
So as we look at the border being the top issue, like one of the top issues affecting this country, the decision is between Jason Crow, who I don't think has been to the border.
I've never seen him there.
Never been to the border, right? You have Venezuelan gangs operating out of Aurora, affecting the citizens that he's supposed to represent. No real statements, no real leadership there. You not only are a little bit of a contrast, you are a big contrast from Jason Crow. Tell folks about your background.
Well, I mean, my background goes all the way back to United States Air Force. So, I'm a veteran in the United States Air Force, became a federal agent in 1996, was on with INS and Immigration Customs Enforcement. I've been boots on the ground and operational at the border and here in the interior of the United States. I put more handcuffs on criminal illegal aliens than anybody in Congress. No one's put and deported illegal aliens. Like I would be the person, if I make it into Congress, that will have done that. So I think when you look at that kind of experience and you see somebody that's been down on the border, I was the deputy chief of staff in 2018 under the Trump administration, worked for Joint Task Force West, trying to keep heroin from entering the United States. I fought against fentanyl. I was on the U.S. Marshals Sex Offender Task Force. Like, I've seen everything that you could imagine in Colorado, in the microcosm of Colorado, and then going all the way nationally to what we're dealing with at the border. I've got that experience. I've testified to Congress. I wrote a book about immigration. I mean, immigration has been my life for the last, 25 years.
Gosh, what a gift you'd be in Congress. His website's John Fab for Congress, FABB, and then the number 4, Congress.com. If you want to be a part of what John's doing. I mean, you're building a movement to defend the citizens of Colorado. And we talk to Danielle Jurinsky about this all the time. This isn't about being a bigoted person towards immigrants.
No.
This is about making sure that the taxpayer is represented first.
Yes.
And then we can deal with whatever other project we want to go after, serving other people. But taxpayers and their safety.
Yes.
Sorry, Jason Crow. Their safety needs to come first, not your progressive bleeding heart.
Sanctuary policy does not protect citizens. It protects criminals. That's exactly what
right.
it does.
Wow, that is great. All right, Lauren Boebert, you've got a competitor, Trisha Calavarsi.
Something,
Yeah,
right?
nobody knows who it is. Nobody has any idea.
And the problem we
I
don't
think
know.
Bill just said he. Like, I don't know.
Calavaresi.
Like, truly doesn't know.
No idea.
Trisha, we have invited you on the show now 5 or 6 times. I have emailed everybody in her office, direct messaged her on Twitter. She sent me the right email to follow up with.
We challenged her on air.
Still no show.
On air, we challenged her to come on and talk to us. And
All
still
right,
nothing.
so you got a debate today.
Yes.
Where's the debate?
So we're down in Littleton today, and we'll be having a debate there on the economy and economic development and what I've done for economic prosperity in Colorado and throughout our nation. There's a lot of policies that point to economic growth. I have the Convey Act that allows Clifton, Colorado to purchase land from the disposal list from the Bureau of Reclamation and utilize that for economic development. I have my Pueblo Jobs Act, where they were going to bulldoze the chemical depot in Pueblo after their mission was complete. This was $3 billion, I think it's $7 billion in infrastructure down there. And now, because I enforce the BRAC process, they cannot demolish that. And we're bringing in Puebloplex to create 1,000 jobs in southern Colorado. There's a lot with our farmers and ranchers and the policy that we can improve on and get right so they can continue to prosper and their families can inherit those farms for generations to come, rather than just stifling them and making them dependent on the federal government. But in all of this, it really is Democrat versus Republican, evil versus good, because the policies that the Democrats are all putting forward are socialist policies. They will further the destruction that we are seeing in our country. They will leave our southern borders wide open. Kamala Harris, the border czar, has done nothing to secure our southern border. Now she's saying on day 1 she's going to do something about it. Girl, you're already there. I don't know if you know this, but you're already there. You can do something. You are the president of the Senate. Go in and operate the Senate and do something. Actually take control there and be the John Adams of our day and go in and say, listen, Senate leadership, you can put forward your calendar and say when you're going to be here, but I'm running the show today because I'm the president of the Senate. If she really wanted to do something, she could, but we have seen time and time again, no Democrat will. And even if they're going to pretend that they're supporting our farmers and ranchers and use excuses for the southern border that we need more labor, well, it's just indentured servitude. They don't really want these people to live the American dream. They want indentured servitude. You owe us this, and maybe we'll give you something in the meantime. But, you know, I do have, we heard John Fabricatore's amazing resume. Is there anything that you haven't done? Is there any criminal you haven't faced?
No.
It's really incredible every time I hear it. I mean, working with U.S. Marshals, a veteran, being the regional director of ICE. And I think one thing that people need to know in Aurora and Denver, surrounding areas, all throughout Colorado, these sanctuary policies really hurt when we start defunding our police officers, like we've seen in Denver. We are defunding police officers, 9% of the police force, to house illegal aliens. And who are we housing? We're housing criminals. We're housing criminal aliens who are coming in and occupying parking lots, causing businesses to shut down, occupying apartment buildings, but also they're just on the streets as well. So it's not like you live in a safer apartment complex and you'll be okay. No, they're everywhere, and we've got to get a hold of this.
Lauren Boebert, John Fabricatore joining us live in studio. We'll continue this conversation in just a second. I want to talk to you about my friend Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values, because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. You don't want to hire one of those people just going by on a bus billboard. That's going to send a strong message. You need somebody who is strong on values. He's pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He's the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But more than that, he's a real winner in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's so trusted that Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. But he's not just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call at 303-770-5551 or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, CAPLIS Law.com. We continue with Lauren Boebert and John Fabricatore. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
All right, joining us live in studio, John Fabricatori. His website's johnfab, F-A-B-B, 4 Congress.com, and then laurenforcolorado.com. Lauren Boebert's joining us here. Now, Lauren, at the DNC, they Oprah-fied Kamala, right? They made her your gal pal, and then they Obama-fied her, this is a historic moment.
Yes.
We will change the direction of this country if we vote for somebody based upon their skin color. To reach primarily Democrat women that look at that and go, she's my gal pal, right? You're not going to come with her with policy arguments or even facts. If they embrace policy arguments already, I think they'd be conservatives because of the failure of Kamala's vice presidency. But I was wondering about this. I wonder, to reach women voters, if you remind them that Kamala, 90% turnover in her office in 4 years, she's that terrible woman boss that a lot of women have had to deal with in their careers, right? Kind of vindictive, competitive, shuts down your career because they're so unsure of themselves. Contrast that to your leadership. Your chief of staff's been there for quite a while.
Yes, from the beginning.
You've had a great team. I've gotten to work with them over the years on policy issues. I mean, does that connect with women? Do they know what? I mean, they have the experience working for a very bad female boss?
I think most of us women have worked under an insecure female boss, under that leadership that, you feel like you have to step on everyone to make it up higher, that you have to crush others to accelerate yourself in your own career. And unfortunately, that is Kamala Harris. We've seen that with 90% turnover in her office as VP. She is the boss that we have all worked for, that is all about self and anything for her own image, and will use you to her benefit, even if your career is destroyed thereafter. And the bottom line is, people don't quit jobs usually. They quit bad bosses. They quit bosses. And in my office, we have had a great success. My district staff has been with me from the beginning. My chief, my legislative team, I have people there from the beginning. And anyone who has left my office, it's because they're doing better. And I helped push them out the door. Go get this. I can't give you what is being offered here.
Yeah, I think that rings very true, because I've known a lot of your staff and nobody has ever come out and said, I can't imagine working for somebody like that again. They've all really appreciated their time with you. And to your point, Kamala Harris. We're up against a break. Thank you all. You've been listening to the Jeff and Bill Show. Dave Williams is next. 9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. Having a ball. We actually ran out of time. We were having fun, taking pictures, hanging out with Fab and Bobert. And
it was so cool.
It is. I appreciate them coming on and answering questions, and being a part of the conversation here. And Trisha, Jason.
Yep.
Come on, man.
Can't wait to see what the results of that debate is, because I have a feeling Lauren's going to do really well in that one. And John and I were talking off air about just some things. He's going door to door, some things to talk to voters about, things that are, ways to separate himself from Jason Crow. And, when someone says, well, but he's the pretty one. No. There's an issue there. There's an issue behind that we can get to about, yeah, you can, but who's going to keep you safer? Who's going to make sure that what you need to do day to day to keep your family fed, to keep your household safe, to keep yourself and the rest of your family chasing the American dream, who's going to help reinforce that? Who's going to make sure that you have the ability to do that? So, yeah, it was fun. It was so much fun to see them for so long. That was so cool.
And they're out and about. Lauren's got stuff even coming up this Friday. She may have some big names coming in, Jim Jordan, some other folks. So it is campaign time, and there are important seats to win. Keep the House in Republican control. So they're all getting out there.
Speaking of campaign time, coming up.
Running a campaign when you probably shouldn't need to run a campaign. The chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, Dave Williams, is going to join us just after news and commentary from Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 72 and sunny, expecting a high of 91 today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I've watched so many folks walk this back. It's not even funny. And the thing is again, like I said, you know what? I knew this was going on for a long time. I asked questions. I asked for solutions.
Danielle Jurinsky also on with John Fabricatore of CD6, a candidate there, and in studio this morning with Lauren Boebert. Jurinsky, Aurora council member at large, on the hotline, and it appears that claims that the Hells Angel Motorcycle Club coming to Colorado to stand up against the Venezuelan gangs in Aurora are not true. What is true is there is a Venezuelan gang problem in Aurora.
We have the Sentinel out here, this paper, the Sentinel, throwing out accusations that all of this is wrong. And their whole focus on that is that Aurora's always had a gang problem. So why are we talking about this now? like let's just forget that we have crime. Yeah, we have crime. People are getting shot. People are getting robbed. But it's always been like that in Aurora. So why are you guys making a big deal about it? And it's just ridiculous.
People are getting injured. They are going to the hospital. There are multiple complexes that are being overrun by this gang. And it doesn't stop there. And it doesn't stop in Aurora. Sure, there are still safe places in Aurora, and Aurora PD do a fabulous job at policing. However, there also needs to be more prosecutions when it comes to this.
And Jurinsky, who exposed all this in this crisis weeks ago, hopes Governor Polis does something, even though he totally disrespected her initially.
He could have handled this much, much differently, and he could have come out of this looking like the hero, to be honest with you. And he lost a major opportunity there by taking this to immediately attacking me. Those videos don't lie.
And then later, Boebert also reminded conservatives they need to vote for Fabricatore so we can fight the woke mob that creates problems like what we see in Aurora.
Because it's not enough if it's me in Colorado speaking out. I need John Fabricatore, Gabe Evans, Jeff Hurd, Jeff Crank to come alongside of me and be leaders for the nation from our small state of Colorado. We have got to drown out the narrative that the progressive left has complete control of. They own the media, and the media is willing to spin anything, gaslight the American public. And so John Fabricatore and I are here to raise awareness to that, but also more than that, we want to take action.
All right, early voting starts soon. Get out there. A second Colorado Republican Party leadership vote was held over the holiday weekend in Castle Rock, where supporters of Chairman Dave Williams approved keeping him in his role. Just last week, members of the Republican Central Committee gathered in Brighton and voted to remove him and replace him with Eli Bremer. Both men are now claiming to be the GOP chair.
Why do we keep doing this?
Time to break out the fake Hillary tricks.
I don't feel no ways tired.
Kamala Khan Harris, who believes this garbage? Breaking out her little accent.
You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time. Because what we know.
Yes, what we know is the lefty Northern California who also lived in Canada. She relates to the people.
Let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
Oh, so sweet. The cackle is back. And answer me this. In 2019, she was worth $6.3 million. In 2022, she was worth $28 million. I wonder how that happened. These are the people bought and paid for. It is up to you right now. Vote early. President Biden also returning to the stage, yelling and doing what he does.
We are the greatest manufacturing city or county in the world, state in the world, city in the world. We're going to remain that way. Eric Dean of the Iron Workers, Tim Driscoll of Bricklayers, April Bell of the SEIU, Lee Saunders of Aspen, the great friend.
That one I didn't get. I didn't know that one.
And Jimmy Williams of the Painters Allied Trades and his dad. His dad is a really good man.
Yes, Dad. Thousands of mourners attended the funeral on Monday for slain Israeli-American Hirsch Goldberg, Poland, one of the 6 hostages held captive by Hamas, whose bodies were found on Saturday. And finally, Joe Scarborough, he works for the Democrats, obviously. Here's what he just said just a few minutes ago.
Trump moving all over the place on issues from abortion to immigration, now saying we need more immigrants in the United States. All of this stuff, the crazy stuff at Arlington, they're absolutely desperate. And the campaign has said internally, they know they can never they can't make people like Donald Trump.
Right.
So their goal is to make people hate Kamala Harris.
Yes.
And that's where we are. And if they can't get Americans to hate Kamala Harris, then they understand she will win.
You're a bozo. 70 in Lakewood, 69 in Lone Tree. That's state-run media, by the way. 72 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Tuesday. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Warm and sunny on this Tuesday. Denver will see highs approaching 90, lows tonight near 60 degrees. For Wednesday, a little bit cooler, mid-80s. Wednesday will bring a chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms. Temperatures at night, 50s, and showers and thunderstorms could linger Wednesday night into Thursday. Thursday cooler, 70s, back to the 80s and dry Friday and Saturday. Weather sponsored by branchplanning.com. Secure your retirement plans with a free review to help provide asset protection, long-term care, or even income for life. Get your complimentary review at branchplanning.com or call 303-219-0088. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us on the VIP line is Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Big vote over the weekend. And I as I said, we don't really have a dog in this fight. We just love to hear from both sides. And I, as a Republican, want to see Republicans win in November. That's my motivation. And so last weekend, there was a meeting that voted apparently Eli Bremer in as chairman of the Republican Party. Then he canceled the meeting. But the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, from what I understand, still today Because I asked Eli this question. I said, do you have the keys to the office? He said, no. So this is a contested chairmanship. But over the weekend, the existing chairman of the Colorado Republican Party had a vote, and he was retained as the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. He joins us now, Dave Williams. Dave, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
First off, I want to say congratulations, because even more important than any political discussion, you added to your family. That is wonderful. What number does this make for you?
Makes number 4.
Hey, you caught up to Jeff and I.
You got him. All right.
Yeah.
And now it gets real crazy.
Oh, yeah, it does. It really does.
That's
because
great.
2 of them are always going to conspire against you.
Yes.
Always.
And they team up.
Yes, they do.
There's teaming up that takes place.
Yeah,
Mom doing well?
Yeah. We had a good birth, no complications. Now we're just all trying to adjust to each other.
Oh, well, congratulations. That's the most important thing. Give us an update on what happened on Saturday. I know media wasn't allowed in there, so we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me on. Just real quick, I agree with you, Jeff. I'd really much like to just 100% focus on the election, and that's what we hope to do moving forward. But with that said, Todd Watkins, Eli Bremer, these folks, they really wanted to have a removal vote. And for the past month and a half, 2 months, we told them, okay, fine, show up on August 31st and you'll get your vote. And we had the vote, and lo and behold, a majority of the party wanted to retain us, certainly in greater numbers than what they cooked up, last week at their fake meeting. I think what it shows, the results of Saturday show that they never had the votes to remove any of the officers, and if they continue playing this game, they're gonna harm the party and create more of a civil war and less focus on the election in about 60 days from now.
Right. It's 60 days out. We've often on this show put it in terms of the head coach. You're the head coach. You're into the playoffs. You're in the second round of the playoffs at this point. And there's an effort to remove you. I'll be honest. It seems to come down to a reading of the bylaws. And I know you have your attorney. Eli Bremer and his side has their attorney as well. Is the argument coming down to, with regards to removal of a chairman, and this is the legal argument, not necessarily whether or not you should be removed, but the legal argument that if they get enough people in a room to have a quorum, 2/3 of the people in that room can vote to remove the chairman versus 2/3 of the entire central committee must vote to remove the chairman. Is that the legal argument coming down to it?
Yeah, I think that's their legal argument, but if you just step back and think about it, it's not workable. One, that's never been the proper understanding or traditional understanding of the removal process. And number two, you can't just convene people in a made-up meeting and then vote and take action. I mean, think about what the implication of that would be, especially in the state legislature. The state legislature, for example, can only meet from January to about May. But if they meet without a special session called by the governor, they can't just happen upon each other and start transacting business. It's no different with our party. There was a properly noticed meeting for August 31st. And if you wanted to vote me out, that was the time to vote me out. But stepping back even further, no man, and this is a message for Eli Bremer, no man that earned maybe 100 votes, a little less than a quarter of the party, can actually inspire most of the party to follow him. This is a fool's errand for him to even attempt. And even if he were to somehow win legally, most of the party is not going to back him. And that was proven on Saturday. We need to stop with this nonsense. And if he really wants to help, then join with us. Stop trying to drain our resources so you can have a job. I mean, that's I think what it comes down to.
Now, who's going to decide this at the end of the day? I mean, it doesn't seem like Eli wants to stop, so he's going to keep plugging along. Is it a court or is it the RNC that will have to step in to make this decision?
I'm not entirely sure. This is uncharted territory. We want to focus on electing Donald Trump and our down ballot candidates, but we will defend the party and its interests and its decisions in court. And if we have to go to the RNC, we'll do that as well. But I think what's clear is that we had way more votes, showing that the party does not want this kind of split, does not want this kind of action taken. And I don't know how, when you look at their fake meeting and their numbers, you can compare them to the legitimate meeting and the greater numbers we had. we got to move on.
I'm going to ask that exact question to Eli Bremer. He's going to join us tomorrow during the 9 o'clock hour on the Jeff and Bill show. Dave, one of the critiques that Eli had, and I would love to hear this from you because this gets to your point. We got to move forward. We got to win in November. He was making claims on social media that the GOP, the state party, had not spoken with Paul Lundeen to put together a strategy to win the state Senate, with Gabe Evans, with Jeff Hurd, with those that are running for Congress, that there was no strategy. There's no work being done. What's your response to that critique?
We have engaged all of the major players and all the candidates, and we've certainly given them invites to work with us in our ground game and our operations. Hope Scheppelman and other folks are leading those efforts, and we have money in the coffers for now to implement them. What I think is going on here there are a number of folks that are working in concert with people like Eli Bremer and Todd Watkins to ultimately wrestle control back to the party because they don't like the direction it's in. And that's okay, but not right now. If you want the party to go in a different direction, do it at the election in March of 2025. Don't do it where we're risking a civil war that will harm us and hurt our candidates before an election.
Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado GOP, joining Jeff and Bill live. I want to follow up on that statement because Eli Bremer, when he joined us on air, said that a number of the candidates, like Hurd and such, had not heard from the state party since their win through the primary. Are you saying that is incorrect? I'm not saying that you're lying. I'm just wondering if that's incorrect.
No,
okay.
That's 100% incorrect and
that's
false.
Fair.
We have all the emails and communication threads. If they don't wish to work with us, that's fine. All we ask is that you don't help Eli Bremer harm the party because of maybe some personal animosity or anything like that.
I appreciate that. Now, this is a question I've been asking many people on both sides, and especially your supporters, and I feel it's only fair that I can ask it from you as well. I've been asking, given the endorsements in the primary, a number of them did not come to fruition. Is that a criticism of either the party's leadership and choices or your leadership and choices if you're not choosing the potential candidates that are then reflected by the voters in the primary? Your thoughts?
I think it's not as simple as that. What you saw in the primary was a reflection of just outside money coming in and helping to, influence the voters in a particular direction. And while the party's opinion is influential, sometimes you can't overcome millions of dollars either from Washington or from the moneyed interests up in Denver, and that was true across the board.
That's fair, but doesn't the Colorado GOP need to be able to overcome that kind of outside money even in the general? And the fact you couldn't do it now, is that an indictment?
No, I mean, I don't think it's an indictment on the party. I think it's just a reality that most people face, especially if you step back and take out the inter-party fighting between Republicans. I mean, Democrats are always going to have more money, and they're always going to be able to outspend Republicans, at least in this state. And so the question is, how do we reach voters and stay competitive given that cash disadvantage? And I think what you're seeing over the past 20 years is it's been kind of a tough road to hoe for Republicans, regardless of what faction you might find yourself in.
Talking with Dave Williams, I'm going to call him the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party over the keys issues.
I will too.
I'm sorry. Like if Eli Bremer doesn't have the keys to the office, I don't know how he can make the claim yet that he's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Maybe. And I think Eli would say, well, we're in the eviction process. We're trying to make that happen.
Let me say this. Eric Adlin, the guy who I squared off against for the chairmanship, got 170 votes of the Central Committee. That was more votes than what he cooked up to try and remove me from my position. If anyone has more of a claim over the Colorado Republican Party than Eli Bremer, it's Eric Adlin. But this showcases how absurd this all is. The guy thinks he can run the party with only less than a quarter of its members' support. That's why this is so dangerous. He keeps pushing forward on a personal vendetta, and it's not helping Trump or any of our candidates. It's got to stop.
Well, and I go back to, again, we're in a sports analogy. We're coming up on the major playoff games, that type of thing. Switching now, and Eli's made this argument, is necessary because we got to get the support behind Gabe Evans and we got to get the support behind Jeff Hurd. And it's that important to switch at this point. Dave, you're the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. What's your message to folks right now? We're 60 days out. Not only are you going to have state House, state Senate, congressional races, I mean, really critical races for the future of this country. You're going to have ballot initiatives as well, one that's going to seek to constitutionalize abortion in this state, which will then allow them to move on to public funding and get away from any type of parental notification. Very serious issues for the voters of Colorado. How do you unify the Colorado Republican Party? Most importantly, how do you win this November?
Well, first off, what I'd tell to all the Republicans, regardless of what faction you may be a part of, is that we can't win without any one side. If you want to win these elections, if you want the nominees that the establishment backed with their outside money, then you're going to need our votes, and vice versa. If we want to defeat Democrats and the grassroots want to ensure that we have some sort of balance in the state, then you got to vote for the nominees. We got to work together. And if we don't, then we're going to lose. And broadly speaking, for the swing voters, how's it been working for you? We have Venezuelan gangs up in Aurora taking over apartments and increasing crime and increasing costs of living. What do you want to do? You want to keep the people in power that are making it worse, or do you want to try and get some balance back into the state? We need to focus on getting this right in the next 60 days, because if we don't, then we're not only in jeopardy of losing our state forever, but also our country. So let's put aside our differences and let's go ahead and win. And then next party election, if people want to go in a different direction, let's do that. But let's not cause a civil war that's going to ultimately harm our party for future generations.
Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, joining us on the Jeff and Bill Show. I really appreciate your time today. We're going to hear from Eli Bremer tomorrow. Dave, would you sit down with Eli? Do you think this is something that could be hashed out? Do you think the factions within the Republican Party could work this out? Or is it too divided?
If Eli Bremer wants to actually conform to the bylaws and help us win elections in the next 60 days, sure. But I know Eli too much. He's a very prideful individual, and he's unwilling to work with any of us, and he's not going to admit that my numbers were better than his. So good luck convincing him of that.
Well, Dave Williams, thanks again, and congratulations on the latest addition to your family.
That is wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks.
Dave Williams, chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Man, it's a civil war, and it's a fight within the families. And so a lot of us that are probably just traditional Republicans that want to win in November are like,
yeah. And the thing is that while I have been critical of Dave based on the choices in the primary, I do think he makes a good point about the number of people that get together and can have a vote. Because if it is only 2/3 of those that are there, you understand the math problem based on shrinking the number of people you get there, because it makes it easier to get what you want with fewer number of votes. So he makes an excellent point about the idea that, well, if it's just a bunch of people get together and then say this meeting qualifies, we got a whole nother issue going forward, because you're going to be changing over things all the time if that's the bar. So again, this is probably going to be, adjudicated in court. That's unfortunate. Yeah. We'll talk to Eli tomorrow and see what happens.
Yeah, and I appreciate Eli's willing to come on as well.
Oh, yeah.
I have a poll up on X right now. If you go to x.com/Jeff Hunt, x.com/Jeff Hunt, who is the chairman of the Colorado GOP?
Yeah, we should ask that of the callers, too. You want to call us and say, who is it? Who's the chairman? Based on what you've heard, you heard Eli, recently. You heard Dave right there. You're going to hear Eli tomorrow. You've seen the votes. Who is the Colorado chairman of the GOP? Who is it? Who's in charge right now? Who do you think it is and why? And if you think that a change should be made and you think it should be Eli, tell us why. What's the reason? I'd love to hear from you. 303, yeah.
I know. I'm getting lots of texts. Come on, Joy Overbeck. You can call in.
Yeah,
303-696-1971. Eric's telling me that Dick Wadhams is definitely listening. Dick, you're welcome to call in as well. 303-696-1971. Who is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? And here's another question. We all asked whether or not Dave was going to be reelected or not as chairman in November after the election. So then the chairman decision takes place. Has Eli Bremer given ammunition to Dave Williams' side that because of the division, he wasn't able to fully do his job? Do you think Dave's going to argue that? He kind of makes that argument about losing the primaries, that, look, it was outside influence that came in that prevented our primary winners from being able to, or primary people from being able to win? Is he now going to be able to make the argument following maybe a disastrous showing in November? I don't know, that it was those seeking to divide the Republican Party that weakened it. Love to hear your thoughts on this. You know, this is where Denver's voice is heard, and we have absolutely jam-packed phone lines. Awesome. All right, Billy, tell us about Balance Well Space.
Yes, we got jam-packed phone lines. Give us a call. We'll be talking to you about who you think is the GOP party chair. But I want to take a moment to talk to you about Balance Well Space. I did a lot of dumb things when I was a kid, and I was living in pain up until I found the professionals at Balance Well Space. You can check them out at balancewellspace.com. Brand new offices in Lowry, and I'll tell you why they're different. Integrative medicine. It's something that can help you. What they do is it's a one-stop shop. So everything from neuropathy to physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care, chiropractic care, trigger point injections, and more, all available in one office. Right now, you're dealing with pain. Those lingering things in your back, the neuropathy, the tingling down your legs. You could have just pain in your arms, your elbows, but you're going place to place to place to fix it. You don't have to. With Balance Well Space, balancewellspace.com is how you check them out. They take care of everything in one visit. You go from office to office to office and get all the treatment. And you're in and out of there, one appointment, about an hour, and you're done. How much extra time does that give you in your day, your week? Plus, you're getting better. So not only are you getting extra time, you're going to be able to do the stuff that you've stopped doing. There were things that I stopped because my knees hurt. Now I'm back running around with the kids some more. The dog loves playing with me in the backyard. I wasn't doing that because things hurt. They have made a tremendous difference in my life. My lower back, two of my vertebrae are fusing together. They've separated them. We're now regenerating some of the discs, and I feel like I haven't felt in 20 years. Same thing's going on with my left knee. Torn meniscus, we're regenerating that right now as well. And they've destroyed so much scar tissue around my broken right shoulder that I now have more movement and less pain than literally 20 years. So they can make that kind of change in your life as well. Talk to the experts that I trust. Balance Well Space. Balancewellspace.com. Dr. Julie, Dr. Jess will create a custom plan just for you, and then everybody goes to work. They're located in Lowry, brand new offices right across from Hangar 2, plenty of parking, and I love those shady trees. Check them out. Make an appointment today. Balancewellspace.com. Balancewellspace.com. Tell them you heard about them on Jeff and Bill.
All right, Bill, glad to hear you're getting the care you need there. We'll continue. Jam-packed phone lines. If you can't get through, text the show 720-892-6757. Who's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 and US.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We've got full phone lines here. We're asking the question, who is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? Competing factions week after week taking place here. And we just heard from Dave Williams. Fantastic conversation. Appreciate Dave willing to come on and answer our questions. Eli Bremen will be joining us tomorrow. So we'll hear from both sides till this is settled, which is likely by a court or the RNC. All right, Mike Denver, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
Hey, guys. Good morning. Good to talk to you. Nice show. Great show. Dave Williams is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. That was made obvious at the legitimate meeting that was held this Saturday. But let me just make a couple of points. Number one, we keep hearing about Dave Williams' endorsement of candidates. At the state assembly that was held in Pueblo months ago, a resolution was put forward and adopted by the assembly members that if a candidate went through the caucus and was nominated at the assembly, the Republican Party would endorse that candidate. Not Dave Williams, the party. And that's exactly what happened. Those candidates that were endorsed by the party, I was one of them, went through the caucus and the assembly and made it to the ballot that way. And that's the way it was done. What am I doing as a candidate in House District 2? I'm not relying on the party. I'm going out. I'm raising my own money.
But shouldn't you rely on the party at least a little bit? I understand. I used to work for the state party, so I understand it's not the whole thing. They're not going to come in and draw up a trunk full of cash and say, "Here you go. Here's how you win." But the state party used to be a resource for candidates, and I get a sense that they really aren't right now.
I think it still is a resource for candidates if their party believes that candidate can win. Unfortunately, in my race, the party does not believe that I can win against the incumbent, but I do. I think I can win, and I'm going to raise the money, and I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to fight for it, and I think I'll be able to beat him. He is a very liberal, left-wing Democrat. He is, in fact, this is the guy
Who's your opponent?
His name is Stephen Woodrow. He's the guy
we were going to cover Woodrow today. We just didn't get to. The dude's getting speeding tickets and writing it off as a congressional excuse. So he gets out of the speeding tickets.
That's what I was just about to tell you. He's using a provision in the state constitution, which is put there to allow legislatures to freely go back and forth to the legislature and not be interfered with by a police officer or a traffic stop or whatever. This was a photo radar ticket. It had nothing to do with him being stopped for going 18 miles an hour over the speed limit. But he's entitled because he is a Democrat. There's a D behind his name. He's not even campaigning against me. That's how little respect he's got.
He is one of the worst. Mike, he is one of the absolute worst. He's right up there with Elizabeth Epps and Tim Hernandez as far as just being this is a guy that was tweeting and liking posts by porn stars during the legislative session. So you're sitting in a committee meeting and he was liking tweets made by, he is one of those guys that should never be in office, but because it's so Democrat, he's never gonna, he just feels like he can do whatever he wants. So, Mike, give people your website.
He's coming up against me, Jeff. So I plan to beat him.
What's your website?
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Missed that opportunity.
You missed it.
All right.
Oh, well, that's okay.
Look, if you're considering selling your home, go with the team that's not only going to give you top level service, but will also help you earn more from the sale of your home than any other agent. My good friend, regular here on the show, making a difference in this community. Gay Ribble is proven to get more for her sellers because they have ready buyers looking for a home in your area. They don't just make this claim. They can sit down and actually show you their list of over 14,700 buyers. This gives you an immediate advantage. Sure, you can hire any agent to sell your home, but isn't it all about how much you put in your pocket after closing? The Empower Home team specializes in making sure you make the most amount of money. They will sell your home at your price or Gay will buy it. Guaranteed. Reach out to my friends and realtors, Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team of Keller Williams. Call 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. All right, Mike's line's open. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Who is the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? Let's go to Francis Golden. You're on line 3 with Jeff and Bill Show. Good morning.
Morning.
Hey, fellers. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, I guess at this point, does it matter who's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? Because it seems like this dispute really started coming to a head early in the spring, really. And so for either party to now sit there and say, look, gosh, we're only 60 days or whatever away from the election. I mean, they've kind of created this urgency that of their own doing. And so, this could have been resolved a while ago. And it seems to me as being an unaffiliated, person here who you need to reach out to try to get these people over the hump. I'm just disgusted by it. It's a absolute squirrel cage. There doesn't seem to be any reason to support Williams. I think he's long since outlived his welcome, and these late attempts and dueling court cases just makes it look even worse. I mean, it's all burning down in flames. I don't know. Let Williams stay put.
I am concerned. I am concerned that the infrastructure, the leadership, and the management of the Colorado Republican Party is not sufficient to get Republicans to win in November. I think that's a very fair critique of Dave Williams' leadership. I'm concerned about it. Those messages that Paul Lundeen, who's the head of the Senate Republicans, that Gabe Evans, that Jeff Hurd, that Jeff Crank are not hearing and working and operating together with the Colorado Republican Party to achieve victory this November. That is incredibly concerning to me. And at the same time, I'm not sure that Eli Bremer legally can take control of the Republican Party the way he did. And here's another aspect in all this. And I've said this to Eli's crew. Look, I'm friends with everybody in this route, so I talk with all of them. And I said to Eli's side, the way you can hold Dave Williams accountable is after the election in November based on wins and losses, just like you would any other coach. And I'm concerned now that they have now taken away that ability to hold him accountable at the upcoming Republican Party meeting after the elections when they determine who the chairman is, because they have now given him the excuse that he was going to win, but the Republican Party fractured based upon these folks like Eli Bremer, and now you need to give me another chairmanship. And this civil war is just going to keep going on and on. And an independent like yourself, Francis, and a Republican like me are going, well, can we stop the crazy progressives? Because that's all I want.
Now, Francis, I got a question for you. Being the independent, there's a stat that Dave Williams cited, and I think there might be some merit to it. The idea that at this Saturday meeting, he got 191 and some change as far as votes. Eli gets about 160. If they were all together in the same meeting, that still tilts toward Dave. Do you think there's any validity to Dave Williams' argument that even with the split meetings, he still got more votes, so he still should be in charge, good, bad, or indifferent? Thoughts?
I think there's some merit to it, but it's just such a slim margin between the two anyway. And I think it just degenerates further into kind of a measuring contest.
Yes.
Where you could, wrangle in any Tom, Dick, or Harry into to raise their hand. I mean, this really is troubling to me because this really badly damages the state because it leaves the entire shooting match open to just the Democrats. And they're sitting back just watching this and laughing their heads off because they're going to get every piece of legislation, every crazy thing through that they want.
Yep.
And it's just an absolute burn down. And that's not good for anybody.
Francis,
unaffiliated, anybody.
You're exactly right. It's going to make the state worse. And rather than getting victories like we need to, even at local levels, guys, here's my message to Republicans right now across the state. We got to start winning smaller. Do you ever, Francis, do you ever see the movie Moneyball?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So,
great movie.
Love that movie, right? The theme in Moneyball is that some players are way overvalued and they don't actually deliver that much. And some players are undervalued. And if you as a team can go look at the undervalued, they're undervalued by culture, but they actually have tremendous value. You're just measuring them the wrong way. And the way the Athletic A's won is they started measuring who could get on base, right? It didn't matter if you were walked. It didn't matter if you bunted. It didn't matter if you hit a little rink-a-dink or a double. If you got on base, you started to win. So we're not going to go after the guys that power it all the time. We're going to go after the guys that can get some wins. What I would love to see the Republican Party do, whether you're Eli Bremer or Dave Williams, start moneyballing the state. Go look for the Danielle Jurinskis. How wonderful has Danielle Jurinsky been to the people of Colorado? She's a city councilwoman in Aurora, and she has got national news right now. So if you run out there and you go statewide, all this stuff statewide all the time, which is what most Republicans think we need to do, all of a sudden, like we're going to unseat John Hickenlooper next cycle. Go for the Moneyball candidates. Find those great diamonds in the rough that are going to go and get him to city council, get him to county commissioner, start to win. Because what you have happening, Francis, right now is the collapse of a losing culture. We lose all the time as Republicans. We lose here, we lose there, we lose everything that we do. And when that happens, you start blaming everybody, including the water boy. It's like what happened on the Broncos, right? You just start blaming everybody. You got to get some wins. The wins happen when you moneyball. Get those local candidates into office. Stop the spread of progressivism that's destroying this state. And you're going to start unifying people. That's what needs to be done. And then you can have a successful Republican Party. Francis, I'll give you the final word.
You know that you hit the nail on the head, and they do need to moneyball it. And I do think of the people who I've listened to on your show, that Danielle Jurinsky has made more sense than anybody you've had on. And that's in the last multiple months. And I think that there's so many people out there who are trying to just be in the spotlight, to occupy a position for their own ego. And I don't get that from her whatsoever. And I think that if we can, if not we, because I'm not affiliated, but if they could get off of their, get out of their own heads, get out of their own way, and the Republican Party start digging up the Danielle Jurinskys of the world, the people who aren't going to strand people on bases, they have a chance. I mean, it's so bad right now. I mean, my brother's a Democrat, and he flat out will tell you, the Republican Party, the way it is now in this state, is very damaging to the state. Very, very damaging to the state.
Francis,
and it's not getting better.
Fantastic call. Really appreciate
so
it.
much.
Francis from Golden. His line will be open.
You notice what he did there, Francis? And this is probably just my sixth grade brain, but he made a reference to a type of contest and then made the reference in the name later in the example he was giving. So again, if that was intentional, Francis, high five. If it wasn't, double high five. That's fantastic. That was good.
His line will be open 303-696-1971. Who's the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party? For many of us, it's happening. Your hair's thinning, your crown disappearing. Maybe hair loss has you feeling your identity is lost altogether. Well, I've got news for you. It's incredible yet simple one-day treatment that starts growing your own natural hair the very next day. And it's guaranteed to grow for life. It's Advanced FUE from Advanced Hair. We've all seen the pills and lotions that come with monthly subscriptions. They help retain what you have. But what if you want to grow your own natural hair permanently in specific areas? From Advanced Hair's state-of-the-art facilities to world-class Dr. Tanya Pauls. It's not maybe will your hair grow. It's guaranteed that your hair will grow. You decide how much, how thick, and where. It's why Advanced Hair is the winner of Westward's Best of Denver. For your free consultation, $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Call 720-459-HAIR. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. We'll continue with your full phone lines. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Am I on? Nope, not on. It's been a fantastic show. If you missed any of it, Lauren Bober, John Peppercatori, Danielle Grinsky, Dave Williams, go to the podcast 710 KNUS. This is the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.